Ahoy, land lovers, it's me, your Captain Vasco speaking. And I came here to solve nonograms and ring cowbells. And unfortunately, I'm at a loss for cowbells. So we're gonna have to solve some nonograms here in Murder by Numbers. Okay, we've been playing for what seems like forever, but that's probably due in large part to the several-month hiatus last year after we started playing it. I will, however, say that this is apparently the 17th installment of playing this game, which, reflecting upon that briefly today, is definitely more of this game than I thought there would be, especially since there's, like, probably still, like, 30% of the game left to go or something? Maybe more? I don't know. A lot of nonograms. Yeah, it's Friday, January 27th. It's not going great here. Got some mixed things going on in chat. My love and support to all of you. I'm happy for those for whom things are turning around, and I hope that things will turn around for the rest as well. I'm going to hit the start prediction button and launch the same prediction we've been doing the last few weeks, which is how many puzzles will Vasco solve in 3 hours. That timer will start at 6:12 p.m. because we're running a little late today. Why is that? Well, the universe is sometimes mean-spirited, as I'm sure you know, and saw fit to saddle me with a nightmare of mine yesterday at 10 p.m. And I didn't appreciate that, and had to deal with the remainder of that less than an hour before stream time. Yay! Let's just say in brief, and perhaps we can discuss it further later, but yesterday I had a dentist appointment. It was the highlight of my day. Let's load the game, shall we? And actually check that this was working. Yeah, I knew I'd forget something, but hey, it's working. Also, I think the sync's okay. I did check it, but like, I don't know. It seemed a little weird. I think it's fine. What's the latest one of them? 21? Probs. Oh, that's so good. What a great bot. Is there a thing for this? Don't have a shorthand for it. Okay. Look, like 10 seconds into a stream where my primary moderator let me know in advance that you would not be here for a minute. That we get a spam bot. Love that. That's so good. Anyway, they're gone now. Spam not welcome. Goodbye. Sorry. Alright, so where were we in the story? Well, that's a tricky question because I do have some complaints about the story for our third case. I don't know that the cases have formal names. If they do, I don't think the game actually says them out loud at any point. But this investigation is regarding the death, whether intentional or accidental, of someone on the sidewalk outside a drag club known as Magellan? Is it just the Magellan Bar? Or Magellan the Bar? I guess it's Magellan's according to the map I'm looking at right now. Basically, someone hijacked a gay pride parade float that was a giant high-heeled shoe, crashed it into the drag bar, and in the process, killed someone who I think we did establish they're like a regular at the bar. We know very little about them because most of the clues that are involved in this case have nothing to do with the case or the murder, which is, you know, like a choice you could make when putting together a murder mystery. Last week, our main character, Hope, had decided that she was just absolutely dedicated to pursuing a lead that was basically a very suspect, very sketchy man who was quite unlikely to be guilty of the murder, but to instead be guilty of many other crimes, including some perhaps tangentially related to the murder, up to and including loan sharkery. But she was like, I'm sure he did the murder because if there's one bad person involved, that person did all the crimes because there's so few criminals in the world. Which, you know, I don't know, I guess perhaps that's a matter of perspective, but I feel like it's a weird application of Occam's razor that I didn't agree with, and it turns out He didn't do those crimes. And the thing, one of the many issues I have with this case is that now that we've firmly ruled him out and ruled out one of the only other characters that seems to have anything to do with this case, it leaves us with the person, the woman who owns the bar, Fantasia, being the only suspect. And I've been suspicious of her for most of the case, but it's just this matter of like the game forcing you like to suspect the wrong people even though there's like no compelling evidence against them, and then waste a bunch of time investigating it. And then now we reach this point where like by process of elimination she must essentially be the person who did it, but like there's no actual evidence because we've just found a bunch of evidence that isn't useful at all. But yeah, so in investigating Crispin Hakewell, I think is his name, which still sounds super fictional, uh, Hope found herself in like the crossfire of a literal crossfire, where he noticed that we were investigating outside his apartment's front door, which was just like super top-notch detective work. And he got upset and started firing his gun out the window. And then luckily, Detective Cross, our friend with the police, and our like pseudo boss, pseudo father figure, uh, showed up like 5 seconds later, like he was like waiting to appear in heroic fashion, and helped buy us time to get to the police station where we called for backup on his behalf, and eventually it all got sorted out. But I think at the end of the day, literally the end of the stream day last week, we found ourselves at a point where like basically Detective Cross was like, I did some light investigation, which is more than you've accomplished in several hours of gameplay, and I determined that he didn't do it. And so then our flying VCR robot friend Scout was basically like, hey, what if the only person left committed the crimes? I believe you mean Lone Shark Cutery. That might be the technical. Like, I think Lone Sharkery is derived from the French Lone Shark Cutery, perhaps. Sarah? Nico says, have some good news for the week. Had the most amazing 34-hour movie night with friends. Went on for as long as we could stay conscious. That sounds like a good time. Were there any notable polls? Was there a theme to 34 hours of movies? Or did you simply keep hitting randomize on some sort of streaming app or something? I actually don't immediately recall like what the next thing to do is. I presume it's to go to Magellan's and scan for stuff or ask some obvious questions to Fran or something. So the correct thing to do, as I've been instructed repeatedly, is to look everywhere else first. So I guess I'll go to my apartment where it's almost guaranteed that nothing of importance will have happened. Great. One down. Police precinct probably also good. Right. I think we were here to start with, and there's nothing there. Narrows it down. Movies at first, then binged Mob Psycho and One Punch Man. That's good. I still haven't seen Mob Psycho. I think you were the one who recommended it to me, Neko. One Punch Man is very good. It's a very good thing. Let's start with the entrance and work our way towards the most obvious destination. Oh. Well, look who it is. You just can't stay away, can ya? I guess I have questions for you, Roz. For some reason, I read that as rowdy, which would be just like a really peculiar way to start a conversation with people. Rowdy! Any look hunting down that Crispin guy? He didn't do crime. Crispin didn't kill Ollie. He has an alibi. Are we calling him Ollie now? We've reached a point where I at least remember that the victim's name is Oliver Laurel, which like also sounds like a really fictional name. That sounds really close. Hopefully the bike didn't pick that up, but honestly, who cares? But like, yeah, are we calling him Ollie? I mean, like, maybe Roz refers to him as Ollie because they had some sort of relationship. It seems weird for us to do that. We didn't know him, and it doesn't seem like that's what he went. I don't know. You sure don't seem to be able to catch a break today. So who are you looking into next? You really want to suggest that all of this has happened in like one calendar day? Well, the only real remaining person of interest is, Fran. Nani? I've tolerated you poking around everywhere, but when you start suspecting one of my friends as a murderer, that's crossing the line. I don't mean to cross any line, it's just we have to follow the clues, and right now they're pointing at Fran. Or more likely, the absence of clues to any other thing than her very suspicious attitude and potential motive. Which is like, I guess, like half a clue. It's sort of like one. Like Mob Psycho a lot more than One Punch Man. That's like a pretty bold claim, I think. I'm excited they're making more, although I feel like it's going to take a really long time for that to get to anything where I'm going to watch it. Yeah, this lady does in fact exist. And I'm telling you, she didn't do it. Fran wouldn't hurt a fly, let alone kill someone. How has Fran been recently? Feels like a weird question to follow up that conversation. Oh, she's been fine. Sure, she gets a bit stressed sometimes, but who doesn't? Where is she now? Up in her office, I guess. She hasn't seemed any more agitated than usual? I know what you're trying to imply, and no, actually, ever since she booked her little NYC weekend getaway, she's been in good spirits. Now, may I confirm with you, Roz, that this New York trip that you've just referenced, she, like, just booked it as if to avoid a police investigation? You're kind of not supposed to leave town. I remember this from the Glass Cannon podcast, episode, like, 1. Hey, Jakey, just got free internet from AT&T, 50 megabits per second down per month. Getting that for free? What are the circumstances of that? Well, also, you're here in time to make a guess with channel points as to how many puzzles we will finish by 9:12? Uh-oh. I should remember that number. About Fran's extremely suspicious getaway. Gotta be poor. Well, I mean, I don't know how to put this. You don't have to think of it that way, but I know what you mean. Either way, it's nice that you got the new internet. 50 down's like pretty good. If you're not trying to like stream, I'm sure that's plenty. And by stream, I mean like stream yourself. And then you want some like decent upload. Streaming video is probably possible with 50 down. Like pretty good. Hey, Demolition, welcome to the stream. I'm digging myself a hole because my brain's broken. How you doing? Fran's going on holiday? Right, I forgot this game was, like, secretly British. It, like, pretends it's not, because it's set in LA, but every now and then a character says something that's, like, very British to me. Yeah, she's going to New York to visit her drag mama, and also avoid a criminal investigation. Can you believe she used to be one of those bawdy Brooklyn queens? You wouldn't think it with how polished she is now, would you? But it's Pride soon, right? I feel like that should be a busy season for a drag queen who runs a drag queen bar. Sure is, that's why she's only going for a couple of days. In fact, it was me who told her she should get away. Recharge the batteries before the madness starts, you know? Uh-huh. Hey, Cotillion, thank you for the 66-month resub. Hope you're doing alright today. I've been so busy with work, I forgot to message you to see how you were doing. It's not a good day. Your day was going better. Mega says, I wouldn't have thought going on holiday was British. I mean, I feel like I only ever know British people. Well, and that's not strictly true. That's more European than British, I think. Although I think the origin of it being European is British. In America, you almost always say, like, going on vacation. It's just, I don't know. It's not like it's right or better. It's just like, that's the way Americans say it. Went to a local restaurant. Usually like and know the owners and managers. Worst night ever there. Oof. Now, Demolition, when you say that, did you have the experience that a large high-heel shoe parade float crashed into the restaurant while you were there and ran over a man to his death? Internet is T-Mobile and it's supposed to be 50 but routinely get less. Yeah, that's not shocking. Only in that I feel like a lot of internet service providers are a scam to some degree. In that, like, they say you'll get stuff, but you will usually not get all of that. It was nearly cold and late. That's not a good combination. I had a restaurant, and that was before the live mediocre Johnny Cash / Elvis singer. Hey, did you accidentally go to the Mad Libs restaurant where someone determines how your night is going to be by filling out like a Mad Lib demolition? Because that's what that sounds like. Anyway, this investigation is happening, I guess. Is that it? I mean, I guess I could ask her about the shoes since she's seen the crime scene where the other shoe was at. I don't expect any of this to do anything. Okay, she does not care. That's fine. I think this drag venue is in West Hollywood. You know, I don't know if it specifies, but, like, that feels reasonably likely. I mean, I feel like that conversation didn't end just now, but, like, it kind of did, so I guess we'll put that later.
I don't need a map to get to Bonetown.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I feel like if you found your way to Magellan's, you gotta be able to find your way to Bonetown from there, right? It certainly doesn't take a map. Wait, what demolition? They tried to sneak a 3% COVID surcharge onto the bill. We complained. The server took off the $3, the quotes $3 charge, which I note is distinct from 3%, that we then pointed out. But not only that, they also said it was to recoup costs for COVID from 2020 to 2022, but for a place that opened in September 2022. That... I don't understand that. Wait, didn't you say this is like a place that you know or have some familiarity with? How did it just open? There's a lot about that that's confusing. Oh, Day of the Tentacle is on Game Pass? I did not hear that, Jakey. That's good. Anything that makes that game more accessible to more people is good. I don't know how serious he was about it, but I remember reading some interview from Ron Gilbert around the release of the latest Monkey Island game that implied he was like at least like thinking about finally doing Maniac Mansion 3, which would be the sequel to Day of the Tentacle. Oh, you like know the people who run it from a different establishment that wasn't like a trash fire. Like a cold trash fire that you can't use to cook food in a timely fashion or deliver it to tables. Maniac Mansion's also on there. Well, of course, if Day of the Tentacle is on there, Day of the Tentacle has an arcade machine on which you can play the entirety of Maniac Mansion. And there was also like an older interview where I think it was Ron Gilbert, joked that like when they had the technology to put the entirety of Day of the Tentacle within another game, then they would do the sequel. Anyway, let's check the bar. You're back. Did you get that vile bully? Yeah. Don't look so happy about it. It wasn't him. I mean, he's definitely okay. This game, I forgot this game does this sometimes. Where like the character will cut off another character, but like not actually give you enough time to read the thing. What? He shot at you? Like shot? Like a gun? Yeah, it's kind of crazy, but he has an alibi for last night. He didn't crash into the club. He didn't kill Oliver. Oh, we're not calling him Ollie anymore? Well, maybe he paid someone else to do it. That's not my main line of inquiry at the moment. I like how all of a sudden Honor's like taking, like she's just talking. I mean, first off, it seems really sketchy to me to, like, tell, like, maybe the two closest friends that the suspect has in the world that we suspect her of crime. Like, that feels like a weird instinct to have right away. But also, in telling everyone this information, she's making it seem like she came to some, like, amazing conclusion based on some, like, new evidence, when in fact her robot was like, why not poplars? And, like, it was literally the only person left to investigate that makes any sense in conjunction to the case. Like, it's not like she figured it out. Like, basically every other detective-related character on the case was like, I don't know, why don't you just, like, try investigating the only lead left? And she's like, right. Oh? Who's in those laser-locked sights now, then? You know where Fran is? Wait, you don't mean? You better be taking the piss on her. Oh, wait, it's investigate time. Also means it's saved because I'm tired. I don't necessarily anticipate, like, doing good at puzzles. That sounds hard. Alright, let's make the needlessly loud noise and then struggle. Fran Drescher? No, Frantasia. The drag queen who owns this drag bar. Alright. Let's see. So, we got a 15 by 15 grid. That might just be what they all look like for the rest of the game. Although, I imagine not all, just the majority. In a 15 by 15, if you have a group of 8, that means that there's one space in the middle that definitely has to be filled. And because of the column here, that bottom group, represented by this one filled in space at the bottom, it has to be the full group, which is only one, which isn't extremely helpful. Oh, there's a lot of numbers here. Alright, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14. Pretty sure this row is all filled. Let's give that a shot. 7, 2, 1, 2. Cool. Now, something that we know is that this bottom row only has the one group of 8 in it. Since we have 2 individual filled-in spaces, that means everything between them has to be filled in as well. 2, 3, 4, 5. And everything that can't reach within 8 of that can't be part of what's going on. This part hurts my brain. More power to you. Thanks, Jakey. I will need it. Normally, it's not impossible. It's pretty difficult, but, like... Listen, I have not been having a good time. I don't know, I considered all sorts of options for today. Everything from canceling the stream to, like, picking a different game, but ultimately I was like, nah, I want to do nanograms. And then I get here and I'm like, why did I want this? Alright, I feel like some of these others might be, I mean, like, this 11 should represent quite a lot, so hold on. We know this is filled in because this whole row is filled in and correct. So, let's see, 5. Should mean that we have overload of 6, right? Or no, of 5? 5 additional spaces? Because even if it stretches all the way to the left, which is like the least it could do, then it would still have to be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah. So that lets us do the reverse of this situation. Although speaking of that, this is its own group. Which isn't super helpful yet, because I don't know if this is a 1 or a 3. But, because we have some spaces filled in the top row, we know that those are the top group for each of them. So 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. Alright, not a whole lot more to go on there yet. How about this? There's a lot of numbers here. I don't think this will fill it, but maybe it will. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. No. Despite the large number of small numbers, not so much. Oh, okay. If we look at this row, there's only one group that's bigger than 1, and it's 8. So we should know 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, that makes sense. It goes all the way to the end there. And then we have one space in a separate group, and there's only groups of 1 left. So that gives us a decent amount of information there. Also, because the top group for these 4 rightmost columns is relatively large, we know that whether or not these top ones are filled, which it feels pretty likely, but let's not assume that, we still know that whether it reaches the top or not, since this row is all filled in, it should reach at least 3 out here. So we need a group of 4, and it can either reach to the top or reach 1 further down. So we can apply that same logic with slightly larger groups. And that gives us the rightmost group for here. I hate stuff like that, Jakey. My Walmart driver was mad that I had him deliver a single pack of Lifesaver wintergreen mints, but Walmart wouldn't let me add it to my earlier order. Why not? Why would they not do that? Is it just like you forgot it and you tried to order it a minute later and like your system just didn't accommodate it? Or was there like some even dumber thing going on? Part of my frustration with yesterday was I like went to get some drive-thru food. I had my like dentist appointment and I set them up after work because getting like time off for doctor's appointments is difficult because my manager has a really hard line about how sick time is used. And I just generally don't want to have that fight. Work is hard enough. So like it was like late enough I didn't really want to like cook after going through all that. So I like went through a drive-thru and I basically ordered like 2 entrees and like 2 sides to have some leftover stuff to justify the fact that I took the trip to do that. And when they handed me the receipt back, I noticed that they put in both entrees or both sides wrong. And I was like, all right, now maybe that's just like a filler thing and they will give me the right thing, but I'm going to check this because I'm skeptical. And so like he hands me the food and I check and it's what's printed on the receipt, which is wrong. And then he's already like vanished and there's like no one else like waiting in the drive-thru, so I have no idea how long it's going to take him to get back. And it takes a minute and he already like seems annoyed that I'm still there. And I'm like, hey, so I ordered 4 things and 2 of them are wrong. And then I could see him like try to explain to me, even though it doesn't make sense. He's like, oh, like that's just a placeholder. It's like, no, I'm not complaining about the receipt. I'm literally showing you the food that is wrong. You read back to me the correct thing, and I've been given the wrong thing. And then, like, he was just, like, really irritated with me, even though it's like, you folks did this. I just ordered food, and I just want the right thing. I don't feel like this should be that hard, and I don't feel like you should make me feel bad about it. And lots of small numbers in the rows, and the columns are, like, all over the place. I don't know what to make of this, just at a glance. Is this enough to fill a thing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Oh, that's rude. 14? You gonna do me like that? Oh, I love apps for ordering. It's hard for them to mess it up. Oh, Jakey, that's good for you that that's true, but I find that it's roughly equivalent. I have like a similar fail rate, other than the fact that I've done more drive-thru ordering recently and have had a really low success rate with that being good. What would be a placeholder on the receipt? Right? Why not write the right thing to begin with? It's a reasonable question, Neko, but like I get it. He's like the reason to do the placeholder is like if you have like a high volume, like if it's like a super busy thing like lunchtime and there's like a lot of people in line, you just sort of like put in like whatever the default sides are and then like shout back to the kitchen what they're supposed to be. And I think something like that is supposed to have happened, but, like, the conversation was in earshot, and, like, it seemed like there was a new employee who was like, well, you wrote it like this on the receipt. And then he's like, yeah, but, like, I made some, like, weird note. And it's like, listen, I'm with her. Just, like, just write what you mean. None of these are gonna... Oh, maybe this one. 3, 4, 5, 6, 11, 12, 13, 14... No, it's 14 again. It's always 14. Hang on a second. Nah, that's not enough. I'm gonna say we can sort of count this out of 14 because we've eliminated the bottom row from these right 2 columns, but that isn't close enough. That doesn't do it. Okay. So if we look at this row again, we filled in the rightmost group. This has to be the middle group. Since it's 3, and, like, can't fit all the spaces here, this has to be filled in, and then 1 on either side is filled in. That should tell us... No, I don't think that actually tells us... It seems really likely that this space is part of the group of 3, which would be useful to know. But in theory, I'm pretty sure it could be the group of 1. Actually, maybe it couldn't. The note is on the ticket, I'm okay with it. I'm not sure if it was. It wasn't written on the receipt. I don't know if there was something different on their end, though. So, like, in theory, if we count this as, like, the group of 1, then the next group would be, like... Because this fills most of the column. It would be, like, 3, 1, 1, 2... So I guess it's not possible for this to be the group of 1. I don't think that is necessarily enough to tell us the whole row, but we can try that. What we are gonna do is mark that then means that the top one has to be the group of 1, and then that has to be the group of 3. We fill in accordingly. 1, 1, 2. Yeah. There's still too much flexibility to rule it out the other way. But because trying to count this as the top one means, like, starting the group of 3, like, multiple spaces lower, it can't fit that way. So that makes sense. Now that that's filled in... We can basically confirm that these middle spaces here have to be part of the group of 6 in the middle of this row. Which means that this space has to be filled in, even if it's as far right as possible, it would still have to reach to here. This one's a little trickier. There's, like, multiple groups and some small ones. I don't think I could do anything there. No. This one's definitely going to be tricky. It's like lots of small groups. I'm not, like, immediately sure where to start looking for the next break here. Can't wait to tell T-Mobile to suck it with their equipment. Yeah, I mean, this year I really gotta, like, get off Spectrum. I mean, I still want to use them for internet, because their internet's been pretty good for me. But, like, I've been on... their cable plan for a while, and, like, I wanted to drop the cable plan at, like, pretty close to the time that the pandemic started. And the issue is that, I've had tremendously horrible customer experiences with them. Like, literally some of the worst experiences of my entire life dealing with their customer service department. And, like, the last time I went, like, you would have to... Like, you either have to, like, mail in the equipment that you're, like, quote-unquote renting from them and just, like, hope that they get it and mark it correctly and, like, don't charge you, like, an insane amount of money to replace the thing outright. Which, like, I don't trust them to do because they've been very bad and incompetent and hostile. Or go in person, and that was truly one of the worst things I've ever done. Is, like, sit and wait at their customer service center to resolve a simple matter. Like, truly, one of the worst experiences of my life, not exaggerating, like, holy God. It was literally traumatic for me. And, like, not only that, but, like, again, the desire to, like, do this came roughly around the time the pandemic started, and, like, when I had to do that and sit in that place in person, it was, like, the exact situation you would describe as, like, a super high-risk, like, contamination thing. It's like sitting indoor with people in close proximity and, like, just, like, people of all kinds who, like, definitely aren't respecting boundaries or space or anything. Just like the worst. Just, like, you will get sick and die here. So, like, I have been putting that off for a while, and let me tell you, it's a costly deferment. I would really like to do that. No, it's not like sitting at the DMV, because sitting at the DMV is, like, bad. But, like, the DMV has never been close to the worst experience in my life. I mean, it's, like, similar to the DMV in that it's just, like, whoever, and, like, there's no impetus for anyone to particularly be, like, courteous or respectful of space or whatever. Use YouTube TV for cable. I mean, at this point, I think I'm most... Like, I found a supplemental thing that I like for my purposes of what I need for cable. And it's, like, a whole lot cheaper. And, like, I don't end up paying prices for, like, sports programming I couldn't possibly care any less about. I'm not paid a bill by check to the Spectrum office, and they cashed it. And then it got lost? That's... cool. God, people are terrible. DMV in California is crazy unless you're your sister. I think my sister and I have more similar luck than maybe either of us wants to admit, and certainly more than she wants to admit. Like, I think that we both just have really high variance luck, where, like, sometimes the thing goes really well, like, beyond reason, and sometimes it's just, like, a nightmare for no reason at all, when it shouldn't be. She's been dealing with more nightmare stuff lately. But, like, it definitely goes both ways. Save it, why don't you? Honestly, I don't remember who it was when I first moved out here to California. But, someone told me, like, if you want, like, most DMV things done in California, just go to AAA. And, like, yeah. I mean, there's still sometimes a line or a crowd at the AAA, but, like, it's way not as bad as the DMV. Sorry, I'm ranting. I am a little bit at a loss here. I really don't see... Yeah, I can't quite narrow that down. I mean, I think strictly speaking, right? Like, in order for there to be a group of 1 to the left of the group of 6, that would mean that one of these 2 spaces would have to be filled. Which means that, like, 2 to 3 of these are off limits, but that does in turn mean that, like, I think, like, 2 of these have to be filled in. Because, like, they could be like this, and then this would be blank, and then either, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or skip this one and go here. But, like, this possibility accounts for basically everything. It fills in some additional space. A lot, but, like, this should be the next group down. So there has to be a group of 2 in here. And then, like, the group of 4 has to be over here. So hang on. I need a group of 1, and then I need a group of 4 out of 3, 4, 5 possible spaces. Yeah, I guess I can't... No, this one has to be filled in. Because either it goes all the way to the right, or, like, this one is, like, filled and, like, leaves the maximum amount of space. But, like, no matter what, the group of 4 can only fill these 5 spaces. So, like, 3 of them are overlap. So that should be fine. Also reminds you of Minesweeper. I forget, Jake. Have you seen a lot of these? It's definitely... The grid definitely has, like, a Minesweeper vibe. I don't know if this one has more of that vibe to you than others. Oh, this is interesting. Check this out. So now that I've worked really hard to prove that these 2 squares are filled in, there's only groups of 2 in this column, so they have to be their own dealio. That, in turn, tells us that this has to be filled in because we need to finish that group of 3. Which then tells us that's exactly where that group of 2 is. However, I still need 3 groups of 1. There's like a lot of space left over. I mean, I don't think 3 and 5 is enough to get much out of. Oh, hang on. Now that we filled this in and had to make it its own group, that blocked out a space that indicates that this has to be where the group of 4 goes, and that tells us exactly where that 1 goes as well. Does that do anything for me? It does. I do know that this has to be blocked off in the column because the column has only groups of 1. And I think that tells me, because I need a group of 1 to the left of the big group here. So I'm pretty sure the only way that works now is this is filled in as 1, and then this makes that group of 6. Yeah, that looks right. And that becomes second group there of 1. And now we've narrowed this down to 3 spaces, and 2 of them have to be filled in. That in turn tells us that that is the start of a group of 2. That's a little more information. It's always weird. This doesn't seem to come up very much, but like the leftmost group in this row is 2, and I have exactly like 2 blank spaces. That could be something, or it could be nothing. Let's actually check something. So now that we have like this unbounded situation, is it possible that this is our group of 1? Because if not, it's probably our group of 4, and then we can fill that in, and it might give us some useful information. But let's assume it's the group of 1 and try and rule that out. So if it was, we would need at least this much space for the group of 4, and that, and then 1. It could still be the group of 1. So that being the case, can't do much with it just yet. Can I do anything with this one? Well, I know that this can't be the second group. The second group is 3, and I wouldn't be able to fit another group above it. So that should tell us that it is actually the group of 1, and that there can't be anything filled in the rest of the column up that way. We would also know that this can't be part of the group of 11 because it's one continuous group and it can't get stopped halfway. So what does that tell us then? We now have 13 spaces, and 11 of them are filled in. That's all but 2, right? Yeah, that should be right. Doesn't change too much. Well, it changes a little bit. We then know that this is where that group of 4 ends, which tells us this row gets filled in like that. Then also tells us that this is the second group for the column 1. And let's see, 3 space. If I tried to fit these 3 filled in as a group to the right of this, so that this wasn't the rightmost group, there wouldn't be space for it to be any other viable group. So that means that this has to be our group of 3, and then nothing can be filled in to the right, which then also tells us that these both have to be filled in. And then, since that's all 11 spaces for the top row, nothing else is filled in there. That also lets us start counting these next groups down. We got one here, and then it's a group of 4 there. And now we have 5 spaces left to fit a group of 3. So we know there's at least one little bit of overlap there. Okay. I think I know anything there just yet. So... Oh, this is actually kind of interesting. So I still need 2 groups of 2 in this row. If I tried to put one here, then there'd be no way to make this into a viable group of 2 since they both have to be groups of 2. That means that there's only one way to fill this, and I can't fit a group of 2 here, and then there's only one other set of spaces. So that tells us that whole row somewhat unexpectedly. Then for this column, we can count down the next group, which appears to be 3. Now that this group has more than one space in it, we know that it should be the group of 4. So that should count down there and act as the second group. For this row, the leftmost group is 2 spaces, which we've already accomplished. That's neat. Since we've got a space filled in here, and the rightmost group is 3, we should be able to determine that those fill into the edge. And then we can count down those groups, since we know their endpoint. Hey, anime, welcome to the stream. Just finished making a model. A model what? A model UN? Which is an umbrella on a cloudy day. I can see it. That's a slightly older comment, I think. Might have looked even more like that a moment ago. So now we've got a group of 2 at the far right here, so we could block that off. And if we look at this row, the rightmost group is 5. That's not going to fit in this one space. And then that leaves just this one end point. It's framed in such a way we can start counting over and know exactly where it is. And now this group of 3 has to fit out of 4 spaces, so we can overlap all but one, and then discount this one entirely. Here, we have the start of the next group down, which is 2, and then we block that off. Then that gives us... there's only groups of 2 in this row, so we should be able to count that over like that, since we have an endpoint there. Unclear whether this will be filled in and which way this will go, and that'll probably come out later. Uploaded a picture to the Discord. Nice, anime. Hopefully I remember to check that out later. No promises. I am a broken man. Let's see. Can't do anything with this. I have only groups of 1. I can actually do something in that case. What I then know is that space on either side has to be left blank. And if we look at this column, there's no way that this can be part of the group of 5. There's just not enough space to fit it. So that leaves only the middle group of 2, and since I have an endpoint, I can count there and leave that blank. Also tells me that because I framed basically every space around it, and I need this to be a group of 2, that one's got to be filled in as well. And that lets us count down for this column, the 4th space, like so. It's actually been a really interesting puzzle. It's pretty tough, but I like it. It has sort of a cascading effect. I don't know if it's the intended way to solve it. I don't know that there is an intended way to solve nonogram puzzles. I can say with some confidence, though, that many of the recent puzzles where I've, like, found an error half to, like, 3/4 of the way through and just delete a whole row and work all the logic around that goof row, pretty sure that's not the intended way to do it. I can say that with some confidence, I think. What's the next thing I can do, though? Like, small groups left for those, like, left columns. 1, 2. I really want to fill this in, but I don't think I can. this point. I just can't get my wrist to settle correctly. I didn't talk about it last week, but last week I was having some like real like pain in my left hand. It was getting worse over several days, and then I'm pretty sure I found the cause and the solution, and they're both really stupid. Which is that I think I managed to lose just enough weight that my left arm got skinnier to the point that my watch didn't quite fit at either of two notch settings, and I was wearing it a little bit loose because it was uncomfortable to adjust it tighter, but that was like causing a bunch of pain. So then I started wearing it on the tighter one, and it's like still a touch uncomfortable, but it doesn't cause tremendous pain now, which is just like a super dumb problem to have, and like a really idiot way to solve it. But it's okay now, I think. It's just not a problem I foresaw having. But thanks, Demolition. I'm not trying to humble brag. It was a really stupid thing. I'm mostly trying to make fun of me. 2, yeah, can't do anything there. 3 and 4 and 1. So, yeah, I'll be able to rule this out. So, like, obviously not fitting like 3 and 4 over here, so like the 1 is probably over here. Is it possible that this is our 1? If that was true, I would need to fit a group of 4 in like 3 spaces? No, that's not really possible, because I can't fit the 3 and the 4 over here either. So that means that this middle one has to be the group of 4. And since we know the endpoint, we have to be able to count it out like this. And then that has to be blank. Somewhere over here, there's a 1. We'll sort that out later. We do know that there's a group of 3 hidden amongst these 5, which means this one has to be filled in no matter how it's laid out. I don't think that does anything for me in that column just yet. But it should let us count down these groups. Probably should have been able to work that out sooner if I was paying more attention. Here we have only groups of 1 left, so we could do that. Yeah, okay. So that's interesting. Filling that in that way has the game point out that group of 2 has to fit somewhere over here. That's not enough information to like fill in any squares. But this is our 1 group of 1, and then the group to the left of 1 is 3. I guess technically 1, 2, 3 space. Yeah, I guess it could just stretch all the way to the left, so I can't really do anything more with it there. This is interesting. So, if you look at these 2 filled in squares in this row. This row has a group of 3, a group of 1, and a group of 3. So if I tried to join the 2 squares that I have filled in, they would instead make a group of 4. They would not be a single group of 3 or anything useful along those lines. That tells me that since they're not part of the same group, this left one has to be the group of 1. But then that helps to narrow down the fact that there's not only 4 squares the group of 3 can go in, but this should also be filled in, no matter which side it leans towards. That also tells us this is filled in. Bottom group for the column is 3, so even if it reaches down to here, it still has to extend up this way. Can't make any similar claims here yet. We also know, with these things being true, that our group of 3 for the left side of this row can't fit in 2 spaces. So then that only leaves here, so I can also say that this is filled in the middle of the 5 squares. So that'll be filled in no matter where the 3 goes. Interestingly, if we look at what's left in this column here, there's no group larger than 2. So the space between these 2 can't be filled in. That would end up making a group of 3, which we can't have. So that has to be blank, which then tells us that this is our group of 2, because that's the only way that can fit. And then everything below it is blanked out. That then helps us work out the bottom row. That means, yeah, 6... 6 of those 8 squares are overlapped now. Also lets us blank this out since that finishes that column. And we have another 3-1-3 situation here in this row, but it looks a little different than the one above it. The one in this position still has to be a group of 1 the way it's laid out, which means one of the groups of 3 has to go here because the other one goes exactly here, and I can't fit anything to the left of that. If you take a look at this, the bottom group for this column is a 1, which means I can't fit a whole group below this, which means this one has to be the bottom group, and then the space on either side has to be blanked out, which then tells us the precise location of the group of 8 down here, and that this is empty, so we can count up that group from the bottom. And now we also know the location of the left group of 3. And we have a bottom square here, so we can count that up as the bottom group for its column, which is now full. This column is also full now, and it looks like this one is also full. So, what does that leave us with? Well, there's only one space that the one we're missing from the far right of this row can go. And then this one needs to be filled in as well. And it looks like this one needs to be filled in. However, this row is done, and this row is done. Alright, that's some progress. This is interesting. So I have 2 individual spaces filled in that are each part of separate groups of 2. I feel like I should be able to determine more than immediately comes to mind. This space can't be filled because no group of 2 can reach there. And the same is true of that. But I think there's still enough flexibility I can't rule that out further, or maybe I'm just missing something. What if we look at this? So the next group up from the bottom that we're missing is a group of 1. So this is empty, and then these 2 spaces should be filled in. And it looks like that also finishes this row. 2, 1, 2, and 2. Alright, so none of the rest of these are filled in. Interesting. So, looking at this row, the next group, counting from the right, is a group of 1. That kind of has to look like this. And then that tells us that this is the missing group of 2, and then that 3 goes all the way to the edge. Okay. Ooh, is this... No, this one's not done because I still need 1 in one of these spots to fill that out. Oh, hang on. If we go back and look at this row in its current form, the next group counting from the right is a group of 3, and there's only one way to fill that, and then I still need a group of 2, and I can only fill it that way. Now that finishes out the left-hand column, which should bring us close to finishing off most of this. This row here now has a missing group of 3 out of 4 spaces, so this should be filled in. What group is this? It's another 1. So that tells us here's our group of 2. And it looks like that's finished for that column, which then tells us this will finish that group of 3. And that finishes the column as well, so that's blank. Then this has to be filled in to make the group of 2 for the row. This is finished. This is filled in. I guess because I still need... I think these have to be diagonal, right? Because, like, there's no group of 2. Yes, the only way to do that is to make them diagonal. I did it! Puzzle 1 complete. It is... Q-box? Is it? Is that what it is? This might be the worst one so far. This really, truly just looks like pixels. It doesn't look like anything to me. Like, I'm honestly not... Like, obviously the green is the outline of the box, right? But, like, maybe the white is supposed to be the tissue paper that often comes in, like, a sneaker box? What's the yellow that looks like it's mixed in with? I don't know. It just looks like nothing. We're really already up to A rank? I thought we were still at, like, B. Maybe we're closer to finishing this one than I thought. Otter, look at this! Huh? It's just a package for Fran. What's the big deal? I performed a subsurface scan to determine its contents. Information that would have been useful before I called your attention to it randomly. It contains a pair of sneakers. They match the pair we found outside Crispin's apartment and inside the float. What scan was that? What type of scan was that you did? Nani? That can't be a coincidence. No two people have shoes! Doing more scanning time. Scanning time station. Found it. Puzzle the next one. The pacing of this game was a little weird in that sense. Where, like, sometimes you'll go, like, a really long time and not have a puzzle, and then frequently you'll do, like, 3 in a row. Or is that just me? I don't know. I got a couple big numbers. We, really just can't settle this in any... What the heck is wrong with me today? Something is. Alright, so hold on. Let me get this big one first. So one way that this could go is that all 11 come from the right, and then whatever. And then other would be one space like that should be our overlap. The shorthand I've worked out for this is, like, when you find a situation like this where it's like, alright, it's either all the way from the right, I fill all that in, and then count the other direction. It's like one space, and then there's a gap of 2, so I just cut that on the other side because that's what your wiggle room ends up being. It's a very scientific explanation, I know, but it has consistently proven true, so I've just started accepting that as fact. I don't know what to call that, or how to explain that in a way that doesn't sound moronic. But keep in mind that I was giving myself, like, nerve damage because I wouldn't wear my watch right. So, maybe don't listen to me for smart good. So let's do a similar thing here. So 9 reaches to there, space, whatever, and then, like, 1 space, 1 space... Might not actually work. Yeah, that might not actually work because there's, like, multiple other groups. I don't know if that's true. Leave that blank, I guess. I just know that's gonna bite me later. Alright. So this is either, like, from the right all the way to here, or, like, 1 space... 3. So leave 3 blank. And that should be correct, I think. I don't know what I'm doing. And the 15 grid 8 has overlap of 1. That should, in theory, tell us that that's our bottom group of 2 for there. It's gonna take a minute, this one, I think. Any of these groups configured in such a way that they just have enough numbers to fill a whole row, even with small numbers? It doesn't immediately look like that's the case. What else is new with anyone? Got some updates at the start of the stream. Don't know the specifics, but nobody has to go too deep. Good news appreciated. Short supply. Let's work. Let me check this. So count 7 from the left, and then fill in wherever. Or the alternative would be like 1 space, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think that means I get 1 overlap. I'm not totally certain of that, so maybe I fill that one in purple. But I think that is true. Okay, here's a fun little twist of logic. Okay, bear with me for a second. This column has only groups of 1 and 1 group of 2 at the bottom. Because I have a space filled in below this, that means that it can't be the lowest group of 2. So I can conclude that it has to be a group of 1, and then the space on either side has to be empty. Same trick does not work here because there are 2 groups of 2. If we look at this column, assuming that this purple square is in fact correctly filled in, there's no group of 3 or larger, which means that when there's just a gap of 1 like this, it has to be blank. The gap of 1 between 2 filled in spaces. And I don't know whether that's... Actually, wait, do I? Hold on. 1 space... I guess I know that it can't be part of the group of 2. Because then I couldn't fit another separate group above it. Which would mean that nothing above it can be filled in, and then in turn, this is a group of 2. Maybe. In theory. This X actually should be pretty helpful. Because now we know for sure that the group of 9 has to fit to the left of the X. So then... How many spaces is that? That's 10? Yeah, it's just 10. It should be all but 1. That's all together 8, and then one of those spaces is filled in. Yep, that seems right. And what does that do for us? Well, we have 2 spaces together. There's no group larger than 2 here. There's no group larger than 2 here. No group larger than 2 here. No, that's not true. There's a group of 4. Nice here, though. Actually, maybe we can deduce that this is... So, okay. If this was part of the group of 4, then we would need to be able to fit 1, 1, 2, and still have it be separate from this. Which I cannot do. There's not enough space to fit the... What is that? 5 required? 1, 2, 3... Yeah. I would need 5 spaces above that for that to work. So that tells me that this is, in fact, the group of 2. In the middle of the row. Which then, funnily enough, tells us that this is the only place the group of 4 can go. Still some wiggle room on that top one, but like, that tells me some stuff. It tells me things and stuff. Any other good tricks to apply right now? Oh, interesting. This row has reached a point where very much of it is blocked off. Somewhere... Well, this has to be empty because there's no way that a group of 2 can fit in the row. That might be helpful in a minute. Now, the group of 2 can fit anywhere in these 4 spaces. I don't get any free information there. But I have to fit a group of 3 in these 4, which means most of it is overlap of all possible options. Going back to my earlier statement... Since there's no group of 3 or more, the space has to be blank for this column. Then tells me... It has to be the group of 1. But I can't fit a 1... No, I guess I could. It'd be like the dumbest row of all time, but I could do that. Ooh, now that this is blocked off in that fashion... Hang on. 6, 7, 8, 9, 11. Space. No, I guess technically, could this space be filled? Could this space be filled in? That's actually important to know. I think the answer is no. In order for this space to be filled in, these 3 would all have to be part of the group of 4, which would mean that I'd have to be able to like block this off and then fit a 2, a space, and a 1. So that can't happen, which means that these have to be part of separate groups, which means they're separated. Which tells us 2 things about this row. 1, this group of 11 has to fill this space, because now we're looking to fill 12 spaces with 11. And this has to be filled in as the leftmost group. I don't think I can do anything with that yet. Any empty spaces here for the 6 to do anything for me. In the bottom row. Might be useful information otherwise. But I think cause and effect are going to be reversed there, and that's going to come last instead of helping us much. Wow, this row is super duper weird. Because of all these X's I've filled in, which I'm assuming are correct, I need to be able to fit a leftmost group of 4 and then like 3 individual groups. That's like clearly not all going to fit on one side. That takes like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's like 10 spaces. There's no group of 10 spaces, which means that this left group has to be just all 4 of the ones I seek. Which then tells me, based on what I was saying before, there's no group of 3 or more for this column, so these have to be separate groups, which then tells us that's where that 9 goes. Does it tell us anything about maybe like 1, 1, 1? Nah, there's a few variations there that are still possible. If we go back here though, now we have a little bit more information about this column. It's only one group of 2, so that's gotta be it. And then that means that this has to be the one standalone thing here, which means nothing above it can be filled in. This can't be filled in because this row has only groups of 2, and that can't fit in that one space left over. Okay. Space. Yeah, I think that still can technically work. There's no group larger than 2 in this column. That means it has to be isolated on either side, and that tells us that this, where the group of 11 goes. And now we know we can perform some overlap here. It means that we get 2 more spaces, because even if this fills a group of 7 all the way to the top, it would have to fill in these spaces, and if it went any lower, it would still have to fill them in. So either way, that's good. That also tells us the location of the rightmost group of 1 for both of those rows, which is reasonably helpful. It's not super helpful. Another thing we can determine, though, is 4, 5, 6, 7. Nothing below that point can be filled in this column, because it would no longer connect to these to make one continuous group of 7. Still can't rule out even one side of this row for the bottom, or I might be able to do something. I think I should get a free point of overlap here, now that something is ruled out. I think I should be able to determine that, like, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah. It has to reach at least to there, since this base is now off limits. Which tells me that's our bottom group of 2 for that column. Okay, so I did one of these a little while ago, but if we look at this column now, we have 2 spaces, one on top of the other. There's only 2 groups that are bigger than 1 in this column. and one of them is the bottom group. So since this isn't the bottom group, there's something below it. That means that this has to be the group of 3. And since we know the start point, we know that it should end there. I think that also gives us... No, it doesn't quite give us the last one, because it's a group of 1 that can kind of fit in either of those spaces. We have much to say here, I don't think. A lot of things can happen. I think I should get more overlap here too, since this is off limits for this group of 10. I think previously 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. Yeah. Now it has to count at least over to here. I think immediately does anything for me, but should be true and might be helpful later for some reason. Still can't roll that out. Ah, hold on. The leftmost group for this row is 7, so like that can't be filled in anymore. And so now I'd be able to say that if this is filled in, which I think that it is, then that group should have to reach at least over to here. So even if it was as left as possible, it still fills 7 spaces out to here. That would make that the top group of 1. And that should actually have an interesting effect of, like, now that that is definite, probably should have been able to do this earlier. But I have a space filled in down here, and it has to be part of the last remaining group, which is 2, which can only reach up to this space. Which means everything above it is now off limits, because there are no groups in the column that fit that arrangement. Really figured that was going to be more useful than it actually is after filling that in. Not super impressed. One missing here. Lots of nonsense. Awful lot of nonsense. Hang on, did we finish this column? Yes, we appear to have finished this column with the space I filled in here. Just 2 individual ones for this row, huh? That's a disaster, psychologically speaking. Seems fine. Oh, okay, so top group for this column is 4. It pretty much has to work this way, because I only have 1 flex space. I know this is filled in, and I know I can't go any lower. It has to work that way. Just only groups of 1 here. And I wouldn't be able to fit a group of 1 to the right of this for the purpose of this row. It should tell us that this is our group of 1 at the right, and then how many spaces is this now? 8 and 10? 7 out of 10? So that should be overlap, in theory. Speaking of, can't fit a group of 7 up here. That's now off limits. The squares is this. 2, 5, 7, 8. So 7 out of 8 have to be filled in. So like all of these are now definites for that right-hand column. And we can conclude that these are all their own groups of 1, which really narrows that down, I promise. Okay, so if we look at this row now, I still need a group of 2 and a group of 3. I have this one filled in the middle, wasn't sure what group it was a part of. We tried to consider it a group of 2. There's no place to fit a group of 3, which does in fact tell us that because this is already a set, like a filled in position with a definite endpoint, that our group of 3 has to go exactly there, and that our group of 2 has to fill this space and go in either direction, because it's 2 out of 3 will be filled. This was pretty vague. I don't think I have much there yet. I do need a whole group of 4 to be the next group left of this one space I have filled in. Is there a world in which it's attached to this? Is it possible that this is the next group to the left? I think not, but let's check it. It would look like that, and then I would need like 6 additional spaces to fill in ones, so that can't be it. So what that tells us is that these 4 spaces, these conspicuous spaces, have to be the group of 4 I seek. Yeah, Cadius, how's it going? Welcome to Friday. It's kind of going like this. But now that I've filled in that group of 4, there's only individual groups of 1 remaining, so I can block that off as its own thing. Per my previous rule that I have no name for, there's no groups of 3 or more here, so when there's a gap like this, the groups have to be separated. Still haven't narrowed down anything in the bottom row enough to, like, pin down that group of 6, but pretty close. Actually, I had a good Friday, infinitely better than last Friday. Wasn't last Friday, Alcadius, the one where you, like, worked a late shift and then had to open on Saturday and got, like, 2 hours sleep or something? That was pretty bad. I'm glad to hear it's not that. I feel like I'm gonna be stuck here forever. Ain't got nothing there. Ah, what am I missing? This is a little interesting. If we look at this row, I'm missing a group of 2 and 3. I have spaces filled in for them, but I don't know exactly where either one goes. But this group of 2 that has to have this space in it, it can't reach to here. Know what that does for me, if anything? Possible that that's part of the group of 2? If not, that might give me some information. If it was part of the group of 2, it'd be like this, and then 1, 2, space 1, space 2. That could, in theory, work. There's nothing about that situation that seems to rule that out. Ugh. Okay, hold on a second. You got these 2 columns right next to each other where I set up this group of 3 in the middle. Each of them is still missing 1 group of 2, but it's the bottom group. So because there are spaces below each of these, that also means that neither of these can be the group of 2, and means they have to be their own individual 1. Now if we take a closer look at this rightmost column of those 2, there's 1 blank space and I need 1 group of 1. That in turn tells me that because this row that I just filled that space in has only 1 group bigger than 1, that has to be part of that group, the group of 3. Continuing the similar train of logic, we now have another 1 space filled in this leftmost of those 2 columns we were looking at. But there's still something below it, and it can't connect to make a group of 2, so that means this has to be its own group of 1. What that also means is that this has to be our topmost 1, and nothing above that can be filled in. I have no idea what I'm looking at, as usual. Oh, Ditto, you're behind in the lore. What's been happening in the case for the last few weeks? Well, you're actually in luck, Ditto, because this case has done so much work spinning its wheels that if you saw the very beginning of this case and have any grasp for narrative mystery stories, you probably haven't missed anything. We're still investigating the case of Magellan's, the drag queen bar that got crashed into by a giant high heel shoe parade float. And someone died in that process, a man named Oliver Laurel. And the game was very insistent that we investigate a bunch of, like, just moronic leads. We've only just come around to investigate the most obvious subject, finally, after many hours of gameplay. And currently we're solving a puzzle in a bar. I have no idea what this is going to lead to. The last puzzle we solved was a shoebox, and it was just pixels. It wasn't even your parents fighting, dude. It was just pixels. But I hope you've been well. I've been this, as usual, regrettably, for me. Can't do anything with that yet. This has just got free cheese sticks. Only paid delivery. That's nice. What were the circumstances? Did you use, like, pizza restaurant points? Ooh, hey, check out this cool row. Where apparently I filled all but the leftmost group of 3, which has to fill these spaces so I get a free point of overlap. And I don't even have to pay delivery on that. But then nothing else over here can be filled in, which, like, probably should help me solve something in theory, but I'm not sure I'm a bad enough dude to save the president's daughter right now. So I'm missing a 1 up here. It's probably attached to this group of 7, if we're being honest with ourselves. But if we look further down, I got this 1 space filled in. It's got to be our next group, which is 1. Then below that, I'm only missing a group of 2, which can't reach up to here, so that's blank. That's a blank one. Ooh, okay. And then if we take a look over here, let's take a close look at this row for a second, right? So if we look at this right-hand segment, I need 3 groups total. 1, 3 in the middle, and then another 1. So like, if I try to fit them both over here, 1, 3, doesn't work. I need to have a space between them that all blends together in one gross monster pile. So like, I can have a 1 over here, but I can't also have the group of 3. Which suggests that, since everything in the middle is blocked off, I need the 1 and the 3, the leftmost 1 and the 3, to be here. And there's actually only one way that works. So, like, information, if you catch my drift. Another thing we know is there's no group larger than 2, so when there's 1 space between 2 other filled-in ones, it's got to be blank. And then we know the bottom group here is a 2, so that has to extend to the bottom. And now we know that the group of 6 in the bottom doesn't go on the right, and in fact goes exactly in the available squares. Which in turn gives us some cool information, because we get to count up all them bottom groups. Love them bottom groups. Paid forward points. Nice. The place is called DP Dough. That's an interesting name. Local chain, I assume. There's a place that we used to, when I worked behind the scenes with the SMBC theater videos. The place, where was that? It's a local chain that's like not super close to where I'm at, but like has a few locations near places we shot, called Hungry Howie's, which was like a pretty good local pizza place. And their like signature thing was that they had like a preposterous number of flavored crusts. It was just like an interesting gimmick to me. Let's see, if we look at the leftmost column now that we've filled some stuff in, second group from the bottom is 1, so that's got to be a blank. It narrows down where this one can go. Got some phantom ones hanging out. I have only a group of 8 here, huh? So like these 2 spaces, those can't be filled in? That's probably really useful information, but before I look at those columns over there, what little spaces is this? Well, I guess these 2 are already filled in, so instead of trying to count the middle spaces, what we should do is count up to 7. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So yeah, that's 9 spaces. So one of these is blank and one of them's filled in. That sounds right. Let's go back to those columns now. So second group from the bottom here is 1, so that fills in that way. Second group from the bottom here is 4, That fills in like that, and also completely finishes that column, which is nice. I don't know when this changed, but now we're looking at, we gotta fill 7 out of 9? 7 of 9? Everyone's favorite Borg turned human Borg? That's right? 5, 7, 8, 9? Yeah, so... yeah, that is point of overlap. That apparently finishes that column, which is cool and nice and good. If we look at this column, nothing left to do, so this should be blank, and then this one would be filled in. If we look at this column where I just filled that space in, there's not a lot of spaces left. I do still need to finish a group of 2, but it won't be able to reach up there. 7 of 9 is back in Picard. I know! Well, I don't know about the upcoming season, but I assume she's in it because she's, I think, one of the only things that a lot of people liked about Picard, even though her character is different, because all the characters in Picard are different. Yeah, man, this leftmost column sucks. Oh, hang on. Second column in looks like it's done, so I can blank those out. Which does a couple things for me. First, finishes this row. I only needed to figure out where that group of 3 goes, and now I know. I only have groups of 1 missing from this row, so I should close this off. Oh, no, hang on. This is the third group up here, is 1. So this should be blank, which means this should be filled. And now, interestingly, that tells me that this is our group of 2 for this column. And now that column is done, and that's not actually how I thought that was going to turn out in the end. But this space is filled in, which also finishes this column. I'll need 1 up here. It's pretty much gotta be this. Almost guaranteed, but not. Oh, this top row, still missing a group of 2 up here. Can't fit in that 1 space. Has to fill this and one of the adjacent things. Anyways, back 2, but only animated. Yeah, I saw something about that. I didn't look into the details. When I went to the dentist yesterday, they sat me in what I can only call the Star Trek room of the dentist's office. It had a photo of the guy who owns the dental practice with William Shatner and Patrick Stewart. And he had a poster with the first 5 Star Trek captains' autographs on it. And I'm like, oh, that's fun. I didn't know this office had one of those. I knew it had a puzzle room where someone had finished assembling, like, California-themed puzzles and then framed them. But I didn't know it had a Star Trek room. Oh, hey, if this top one's filled in, then it's gotta be part of that top group of 2, which I guess was the last thing I needed? Probably should have X'd out some of those other spaces at some point. Wow, I did a really bad job of that column. It's fine. We got there anyway, I guess. Some context here. This is our bottom group of 2. There's only groups of 1 left, so that's got to be its own thing. Yeah. 2, yeah. 1. Oh, this is filled in, right? I need a group, and that's the only thing. Okay. Also true here. 1, 1, 1. Yeah. What's our deal here? I immediately think I know how most of this goes, but I can't prove it. This goes back, but only in comic form. But are any of the Star Trek captains in Pog form, Jakey? That's what inquiring minds want to know. But I'm not sure if anyone actually knows that obscure Simpsons reference. Alf's back, but in Pog form. I should know exactly where this group of 10 goes now, shouldn't I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then that's nothing, and then that's filled in, which is the last thing for that row, and then the next group up is 1, so that should be blank, and then that's filled, and then that's blank, and then that's filled. Makes that the group of 4, and then that's 1, and that's actually not where I thought that was going. This is... Gosh, I guess that's everything for that row, huh? That feels weird, too. What are we down to here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Alright, that seems good. And then I guess this last one's filled in. Oh, another internet upgrade in chat. Alcadis, you're getting fiber? I'm jealous of that. Fiber internet seems great. It's annoying that it's not more readily available. $1 tip. A good tip on a free item? Restaurant is like a 5-minute drive. I mean, I feel like that's a question that truly only you can answer. But, like, it doesn't seem unreasonable. I mean, like, what was the delivery charge they charged you for? Because you said you paid delivery on that, right? I got a plane ticket. Is that what it was? I sort of see it. It's definitely more clear than shoebox. That's a big number. 214. I think in theory that's good. That's like close to 50% of what you paid. I don't know. Like I said, I feel like only you can decide what feels right, because that's like a weird, it's like a weird gray area that I don't feel like I have heard people explore in etiquette philosophy, if such a thing exists. I found what appears to be an airplane ticket. It's marked escaping the fuzz, lol, JK, not really. A flight to New York tomorrow, booked under the name Edwin Tinker. Who's Edwin? Look, man, Honor, like, I really want to be on your side here, but the longer this specific case goes on, the madder I get with you. I haven't received this information for, like, 6 weeks, and I still know who Edwin Tinker is. Edwin Tinker is the given name for Fantasia, which isn't dead naming because Fantasia is a drag name and not... She's not trans, she's a drag queen. But, like, someone told us that. Like, we already have that information. Isn't that Fred's real name? We gotta be able to find a better partner for Scout. Like, Honor's alright, but, like... Scout's doing all the heavy lifting, and he's also the cute one, and he also has the skills. So, like, what is it that Honor is contributing at this point? This is a one-way ticket, Scout. Fran isn't planning on coming back. Yeah, drag names could become your new name, but only if you're trans, which, based on the information given to us earlier in the case, I'm led to believe is not true here. At least not at the point in time that this investigation is happening. Just gonna save over this one. Okay. I feel like Army thinks I shouldn't go to the dressing room because Fran is likely to be there, but I just saved. And also, if there's possibly a puzzle there, I shouldn't be able to lock myself out of the game, even though it looks like I'm supposed to question... Fran, are you in there? Fran? Perhaps we should come back later. I guess so. Okay, that's interesting. That's not a thing we've seen happen before. I'm just gonna do a quick reconnaissance sweep of places where I might find a puzzle that I probably won't find a puzzle. So that accounts for all 3 of those. Back to city. My house. My house. Nope. So I guess we will talk to... Why can I not? Casey, right? Cheeky says, if I ever did drag, I'd be Madame Ovary. That's very good. That's a very good one. I like it. I feel like that's vaguely in the vein of VascoDaGamer, which is like the historical name that is a gaming pun that like a shockingly low number of people seem to understand is like a historical pun. Listen, I honestly don't think I'm like an authority on like random explorers of the sailing age knowledge, but like I thought like people knew like a handful of names and VascoDaGama was amongst them, but it turns out that's not true somehow or other. Like, it's been so long since I've done this guy's voice consistently that even though I was like kind of getting there on the Australian accent, it's like Liverpool again. At least it's not Cockney. I guess that's technically still an improvement. Come on, Anna. Don't want to fall out with you. I don't want to fall out with you either. Trust me, Casey. I don't want to fall out with you either. Glad to hear it. So, who's actually your next suspect then? We are currently investigating whether it could have been Fran. That's exactly what I didn't want to hear. Look, KC, it's not personal. We have to investigate every lead, and all the other avenues have led us nowhere. Well, don't expect this one to either. Why do you insist Fran didn't do it? 'Cause he's friends with Fran? VascoDaGama, didn't he discover all the Portuguese colonies? He definitely, like... I think that's true. I'm pretty sure that's true. I do know for sure that he, like, rounded the coast of Africa. Because, like, at one point I did, like, look up the stuff that he was famous for. And it was mostly, like, going to, like, parts of Africa around, like... What is it called? Like, the Horn of Africa or whatever? I think he, like, rounded that area maybe first. And, like, he met a bunch of, like, tribes who were super cool to him, and he was extremely terrible to them, and it's like, cool. And let me just be clear that I'm not trying to in any way mitigate how bad it is. I just don't want to go into it, because from what I remember, the stories are very bad. He was not a cool guy. But, like, yeah, I'm not trying to minimize that at all. Not a cool dude. You seem sure that Fran didn't do the thing. It's kind of interesting to have this conversation in a bar called Magellan's. Because I know her. Because I've spent years of my life with her. I've lived with her, fought with her, I've cried with her, and every moment tells me that she could never kill someone. Maybe not deliberately. Not ever. Listen, it wasn't that long ago that you were in the frame for murder. In the first case, I guess? I don't feel like he was a serious suspect at any point. And I'd have said exactly the same about you as I'm saying about Fran, because that's what a friend does. This is a weird argument. Oh no, this is KC. Oh, I'm stupid. I was like completely... I just thought for some reason we bounced back to Hope and that she was trying to convince him of her case, but like he's saying like, you were in the frame for murder in the first case, and I'd have said exactly the same about you as I'm saying for friend, because that's what a friend does. I get it, and I appreciate it, I do. If it wasn't for you, I might not have realized how much Ryan messed my head up. Yeah, but that doesn't have anything to do with murder. Without you in my corner, I don't know if I'd have had the strength to leave him. Okay, but like again... That's like a completely unrelated matter to like being suspected of murder. Like that's just a just completely unrelated thing. Oh, stop all that. I just helped you see where you were going. That's all. The rest was up to you. You're the one who saw through. And I did it because I see how good a person you are. I would have done the same for Fran. That's why I have to believe me. You have to believe me. You're barking up the wrong tree here. How's she been doing today? Like cool and normal? Worried, tired, irritable, distant. Basically exactly how you'd expect someone to be when they've just had their livelihood smashed to smithereens. Right, of course. Where is she now? Locked herself away in the office. Said she had to call the insurance company. And not, I don't know, get like a head start on leaving the state. Although, we have her plane ticket, which is actually really confusing now that I think about it. Because it seems like the reason that she would lock the doors is to get that head start and then to, like, vanish into obscurity and just, like, change drag identities several times across state lines or something. That sounds like a fun movie, doesn't it? Like a drag queen running from the cops and just, like, changing their act. That might be boring, but it sounds interesting. Although, for all I know, that could already be a movie I've just never heard of. I haven't honestly seen a lot of drag movies. I think they exist. Rather her than me. I hate those call centers. Those dumb voice recognition machines never understand a British accent. You know, like this one. No offense, Scout. None taken, Casey. I didn't understand what you said anyway. Scout continues to just A+ his way through this game. Very funny. Alright, what, we present him with, like, all the evidence of the whole case? Let's start with the one-way ticket, because, like, I feel like that's the most likely thing. One-way ticket to New York, New York. It's a heck of a town. Casey, I have to show you something, but I don't want you to get mad. Is it a kitten? I think that's probably the only thing guaranteed not to get me mad. Scout found this airplane ticket while we were looking around. It's Fran's, for her holiday to New York. The thing us Americans definitely say all the time. But it's a one-way ticket. From America to America, for a holiday. What? Let me see that. I'm sure there's a sensible explanation for this. Maybe she didn't have enough cash right now. She's gonna buy the return ticket when she's out there. Yeah, because she'll be making a ton of money when she's, like, not running her bar. Maybe she just wanted some flexibility about when she came back. See, there's loads of reasons. Like 2 or more. Why she might have done this. But she has to come back soon. It's Pride next week. That's her biggest time for business. Well, that was just an example, okay? Whatever it is, I know there's a reasonable explanation. Otter, I don't think we're going to get any further with this line of questioning. 2 things. 1, it's not questioning. We showed him a thing and stated some facts, more or less. 2, why do we need to convince KC of this? My suspicion is that we have to do this because he knows something that will let us catch Fran. But, like, since we don't know in advance that he has that information, this feels like a weird way of doing business. Glad to see someone gets it. I like that he was, like, full-on scowl, and then, like, the second that conversation's done, his character model goes back to, like, smile. I mean, I could show him the shoes. I don't think that's gonna mean anything to him. When did this package for Fran arrive? Oh, that? Some motorcycle courier dropped by while you were off chasing Crispin. Said he had an urgent delivery. Scout scanned the insides. It's a pair of sneakers. It's a shoebox? Hey, listen, I don't want to diminish Scout's contributions to this case because they're the good ones, but at the same time, it's a shoebox. People who have the sense of sight and also functioning appendages can open the shoebox and ascertain its contents. Same type of sneakers were found near the crash float and at the parking lot where it was stolen. And, you know, crazy everyone goes for trainers. Sorry, sneakers these days. Probably a popular pair. They're the same size, too. I mean, that's not coincidence, I'm telling you. I mean, the shoes themselves aren't more incriminating. I don't think there's much point in showing those. Is it just the letters or anything else we care about? Maybe the speaker, but I think the letters are like the thing. Oh, no? Isn't that our evidence of, like, the financial bad time, Marie? Do you want me to show the evidence of the loan shark situation? The speaker? I mean, it seems like the thing I want to do is show him enough evidence that he breaks. But like some of the stuff that I think is relevant, it's like not letting me do anything with. If the padlock doesn't point to anyone in particular, it just explains what was going on. I feel like the shoebox explains the sneaker situation more compellingly than either individual shoe. The police radio is just like how we resolve the plot point. Crispin's key isn't it. Business card for an unrelated character is not it. Oh, the PC has records of that. This is, I get the letters are more of a link to the loan shark. Let's show him the computer. Okay. So he doesn't care about the motive? Then, like, what other information does he want? Can I, like, ask him new questions now or something? No. Oh, I forgot about this X-ray. X-ray? No. That sure feels like all the things I would show him. Alright, it's time for everyone's favorite game. Rub inventory on character until problem solved. Look, I already tried logic, okay? I think I showed him the speaker. Alright, well either I missed something, which I don't think I did, or... I don't think I can get to the dressing room. I think that's still going to be off limits. Okay, same cutscene more or less. Let's see if we can break Roz more easily, I guess? Which I'd rather not do, because I don't want to talk to Roz. Roz, take a look at this. It's Fran's airplane ticket. And... look, it's a one-way ticket. She's not coming back. Nani? There must be a return ticket somewhere. You just haven't found it. Right. Any idea where it might be? I don't know. She tends to keep important stuff in the safe behind the drink storage. Got a fake wall covering it, which is probably why your little buddy didn't find it. Wait, even walls can pretend to be something they aren't? What else aren't you telling me? I saw her get something from there the day I did a running jump into the splits off the stage and broke a table. Don't tell me any more about that story. What can I say? The power of Whitney compelled me. I like to think that Honor's reaction was more or less mine of like, oh god, don't tell me more about that story. So I guess that's the information I sought. Perhaps. Grief, that's a lot of backing out. To the bar.
Big titty.
Big titty. Where did that come from? Demolition. Thank you for that. Let's do a save. This should be fine. Oh. I found another puzzle. Rut room. What the heck? This looks weird. I'm not sure if this works when there's more than one extra group. Hold on, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It's close. I think that's accurate. Let's see, what's the biggest one of these? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14? 6, 7. 14. Barf. It's 13. There's small numbers in the top rows. I mean, I am probably... Something like that, I think is true. God, I'm just like already guessing at random garbage. Let's see. Assuming these things are true, the leftmost group is supposed to be 2, and then the next one is 3 for this row. This, I can't fit a group of 2 over here, which means this first one has to be part of the first group of 2, which means that it can't fill in here. It would have to be separate, which then leaves only one direction for that to go. Then this has to be blank, and then this has to go up over 2 more spaces. Now, in theory, for this next row down, you could have a group of 1 here, and then this be part of a group of 2. But if that was the case, it would overlap into one of the adjacent groups, which means that this actually has to be the leftmost group of 1. Means that nothing over here can be filled, and this has to reach out 2 spaces. Now this column only has groups of 1, so we can block that off on the other side. I'm not getting anything from the other half of those rows for a minute. Groups here are too small to mess with. This could be a group of 3 and 2, or it could be 3 here. Same. So not a lot to work with there. 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the bottom group in this column is 6. It obviously can't be up here because there'd be no room for anything else. So the 6 has to fit in these bottom 7 spaces. Means all but the very top and very bottom are automatically filled in. It would also mean that this filled in space is part of the next group up, which is 2. We also know that this has to be part of the leftmost group. And since that's 3, even if it reaches all the way to the left, this space is also filled. Okay, yeah, that seems fine, I think. Actually, now that these spaces are filled in, I think that means... Yeah, there's no way for these middle spaces to be filled anymore, because the leftmost group has to be 3. If any of these spaces were filled in, it would make a group of 4 for each one of these rows. So, like, all 4 of those have to be blank, and all 4 of these have to be filled in. Since anything is filled in from these bottom 7, it has to be the bottom group of 7 for that leftmost column. And then, because that's filled in, it also makes that the leftmost group there, which works for these bottom 2 rows as well. If we look at this row now that we've filled in some other stuff, leftmost pair of groups should both be 1. So that works like that, and then tells us that this is the start of our group of 2 there. Because we have all these X's in the middle, we also can count the next group over for each one of these rows, which is 2, 1, 2, 2. Can't do that here. It's not applied. Alright, that was a lot really quickly, but now... we stuck, maybe? Okay, hold on a second. This column here in the middle has a group of 8. We got this space in the middle of that column blocked off, which is actually pretty helpful. I think that gives us exactly enough room to fit 8 there. Yeah, that's pretty good. And then how many spaces are left over? Enough that we know... I think we essentially know that the ones and the blanks have to alternate in order to make them separate groups for the remaining ones. So I think if I know any one space in the rest of this column, I can fill the whole rest of the column, I think. But because I did that, we once again find ourselves in a situation where we can count the next group over for everyone that has a space filled in, and an X at the left, because there's one that doesn't do both of those. This one. But we can count that as 1, and 1. I'm gonna leave that stuff alone. Oh, I know it's come up a couple times in recent weeks. Did anyone see today that Wizards of the Coast put out an official statement about the open gaming license for Dungeons and Dragons and how they've, like, fully committed to just walking all that ridiculousness back? I have sort of mixed feelings. I think ultimately that's good for basically everyone, including Wizards of the Coast. But, like, not only is it, like, kind of a bad look on a corporate level, but, like, also they just, like, burned a lot of goodwill to arrive at not messing around and finding out. But, like, you also do have to keep in mind that this comes on the heels of an announcement that I saw in the context of Magic the Gathering, also handled by Wizards of the Coast, which is that Hasbro, the parent company, cited poor fourth quarter earnings for 2022 and laid off, like, a ton of people. Which means that they're going to be leaning hard on Magic and Dungeons and Dragons to, like, make up the difference, and it's just gonna keep getting worse. This column has only groups of 1, so now that we have a space filled in, it's all by itself. Same is true here. It sure feels like this is filled in, but I don't know. Oh, this is our full group of 10 now. We filled in the whole thing. I'm proud of us. Oh, yeah, let's take a closer look at this column. I guess I haven't done at any point. It has a group of 2 and a group of 4. And those are the biggest groups. They're already filled in, so that's cool. Need the space down here to be filled in because that is the group of 1 we're missing. I need a group of 2 and then a group of 1. The only way I can manage that is if this is filled in and this isn't. Otherwise it bleeds into a group of 3. That should tell us that that's the bottom of our group of 9. So I think that reaches just to there. Cool. Anything there yet? I almost have this narrowed down enough to put at least 1 overlap space in for this group of 3, just to get the far right of this row. 1 here. Some more small groups that are difficult to pin down. It's a tough one. This one, I've really enjoyed this puzzle so far. It's had some really non-obvious lines to get us this far. I don't know what's next. I'm also not sure what image I expect to find in her save. Or, frankly, why it is that just knowing the fact that there's a safe there will let us scan it to the extent that I'm sure Scout will let us get inside, even though I'm sure it's terribly analog. Just terribly analog. Oof doof. I really am immediately at a loss. Just like a lot of small groups that like fill out this side, so it's hard to do that by itself. And it's like mostly pretty small groups over here as well, with like nothing to even like chunk them into like halves of the column or something. These aren't all blocked in. Where's that? That's just like an entirely open column, so even though it has slightly larger numbers, that's not helpful. One has a lot of groups, but they're all ones, and that column's also totally blank. God, I mean, there's gotta be something I can do with one of these. Somehow. Most of what's left are such small numbers. Narrow any of that down. Stupid large quantity of small numbers. So let's see, that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 10 out of 12. I guess I might be able to get like, well, hold on. Let's check something and then try checking something else. Is it possible that this isn't the one that's filled in? If that was the case, the only possible way to do that would probably be that. But it does work. 1422. So I don't get to assume that the space at the far left is filled in, which would give me at least a little bit of information. It'd probably give me like a filled in spot or two, but it'd be more than I have right now. I mean, listen, it's pretty likely that both of these are filled in, but I don't know that for sure. If I did, it would give me some information. But, like... yeah, there's really nothing to say that it's not just the other, or that they alternate, or something. I'm, like, pretty stuck here. Like, I've gotten stuck for, like, a period before on some of these, but, like, over this, like, I feel like I'm accounting for everything and not seeing a way to move this forward. Numbers are just too small to do much, like, practical ruling out. So, yeah, like, this one has, like, 7 spaces left to account for. Let's try some stuff here, I guess. See what's possible. So, if this group of 2 went like this, then, like... no, there's just... I mean, there's just not enough. There's, like... I mean, it could basically be anywhere. There's just, like, not enough things filled in to rule it down. Just so many ones. What do I do with all these ones? Can't hold all these ones. Too much. Let's do it row by row, I guess. And then column by column when that doesn't work. So there's a single small group in the top row. No sufficient context to narrow that down. Can't do anything there. Two small groups in the next row, also totally blank, nothing to do there. Even smaller groups below that, nothing to do there. Two groups, one of them a little larger, but I'm pretty sure if we look at the 2 and 6, like... Or like the alternative would be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, like they like the possibilities like literally like touch each other, so like there's no overlap. Groups are just too small. If we look at the next one, I mean, I already looked at this and ruled that like in theory you could do this. So like I really don't know the location of anything. Even like one space filled in might be enough to tell me what I suspect to be true, that this is filled in, but I don't know that. I was trying to think a moment ago if... supposing either of these was in place did anything for me. Like if I assume that this space is filled in as part of the 3, that would then mean that that has to be filled in, and this can't be. And then like that would be true. This overlap of like 2 of the 3 spaces. But like we look at the like alternate possibility there. There's nothing to rule out like this and then like this space being blank and then like this. I'm trying to work through it right now, Demolition. I appreciate the offer to help, but I will let you know if we reach that point. At this point, I'm just trying to be thorough to see what I might be missing. I mean, this is just, again, this is just like slightly too large for these small numbers. Like, if I put the 2 here, there's like 3 possible spaces a 1 can go, and if I put the 1 here, there's like several possible places for that, so like nothing is narrowed down there. This is literally 1 out of 5, there's nothing to narrow that down. This is 1 space too big for me to know, like, even 1 spot that the 3 goes in. Again, these numbers are just too small. It's like I can put the 2... and the 1, or shuffle them toward the middle, like just a lot of possibilities. Is this something? So this is one possibility. Another possibility would be like... that. Or... there? But if you look at that, whether you do that or you do that, like those 2 have to be filled in. I don't know exactly what that does for me. I mean, I guess this has to be part of the bottom group of 5 for this column. So like these, that one has to be filled in. You can reach to the bottom or from the one we established higher up. Look at this one. 1 space. Space 3. No, I don't think I can do much with that yet. And then, yeah, I mean, like, this is the same exact configuration as the one above it, right? So, like, we could do this, or this, or like this, or like this, but, like, those 2 should remain in place, which tells us if there's 2 spaces together here, what it means is that it can't be the bottom group. And the only way to have a group lower than this is for this to be blank and this filled in. And then that tells us that the group of 4 reaches exactly up to there. Okay. not gonna get much out of that. I think I immediately get anything more there. Not a space there. Oh, okay. So now this has to be blank because we've proven that this has to be blank. Our missing group of 3 can't fit in there at all. Which means that, like, 2 of those 3 spaces have to be filled in. Which unfortunately doesn't tell me, like, anything about either of those columns. Because the left of those 2 columns is, like, really small groups in it. And I have nothing else to go on there. And the rightmost could either be, like, the one I'm highlighting currently could be filled in to make that the bottom group of 5, or the other one still, like, the bottom 3 could still reach to the bottom to make that 5, and then the other space be part of the 2. Okay, but now if we take a look at this, I wouldn't be able to fit an extra 1 and separate it from this. So that means that this has to be our rightmost group of 1. So I don't think that actually tells us anything more. Because, like, I know that these 2 spaces are part of 2 groups of 2. But I don't think I have any way to narrow that down meaningfully right now. Because these are groups of 2, they can reach in either direction, so I don't think I can do more with them yet. Nice to all of those. Okay, so this is part of our group of 2. I wanted to say I could block this out, but that's not true, because technically this could be filled, and this could be 1, and then nothing else would be filled in. This has to be part of our group of 2, but I don't know more than that. If I had any space along this wall, I would know that the group of 3 has to be below this X, but I don't have compelling evidence of that. Guess we'll do columns now, because I think that's all the rows and all the things I can do with all the rows right now. So it's just like a lot of spaces that 2s can be here, right? Be like here, here, be like that. It's just the same situation though. Be like that, it could be like that. If this is here, this can't go anywhere else. This goes here, they could be like that or like that. Yeah, it looks like it's the same thing we're looking at there. So that tells us that this is our leftmost group of 3, which is something. We also know for this column that there's only groups of 1 left, so now we know exactly where those go. So this has to be part of the leftmost group of 2 for this row, because I can't fit another group left of it. But because it's a group of 2, it can't reach 2 spaces over to the edge, which means that that has to be blank, which only leaves this as a possibility to be filled in for the group of 2 in that column, which then means that's the finished group of 3 there. Not this, not this, not this. I hate this column more than anyone here. This is the worst. Oh yeah, this is a group of 1. That is true. Which then only leaves that, right? So that makes that the group of 2. Oh man, that's really close too. Oh, and up here, this top row only has 1 group of 4. That can't be part of it, so there's only 1 space that could do that. That also makes that the leftmost group of 1 for that row, which is something. Really can't get away with like anything with just lots of 1s. It's so hard to know. It's just like nothing narrowing a lot of these down. Like this column, the groups are still really small, so like there's a ton of flexibility there in a bad way. And yeah, like out of 7 spaces for the next one over, like 4 of them are filled. Oh, wait, is that actually enough to do something? That narrowed down sufficiently to be meaningful? Like that, or 1 space, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we get to count that as a point of overlap of all possible 1 space. Oh, hold on. 1 space. No, that can't be right. Because you could do that, and that wouldn't overlap that. Shut up. No, shut up a second time. This is nothing. I want it to be something, but it's not. I'm pretty sure that's nothing. Do I have enough information here to determine what group this is in? I'm pretty sure no, because I have almost no information at all. Like, realistically, unless I ruled out at least, like, the row above or below, or both of them, I don't think I could do anything with just this for this column. Kind of similar for the next one, like I was saying before. That can be 1 group or 2 that I have squares filled in from. And then the far right, like, just not enough to work with. So I feel like I've now looked at everything pretty closely. 11? 6, wait, 6 out of 11? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ah, that's a point of overlap there. Does that do something for me? Well, okay. I know that this has to be part of the topmost group of 3. So I can't fit a whole group of 3 above it. So, like, because it can't reach to the top, that can't be used for anything. But, like, I don't think I get much more than that. I feel like this is, like, easily the hardest puzzle I've done so far, but in a way that's, like, not actually frustrating. Because the stuff that I've been able to work through so far is, like, really interesting. Stupid wrist and this stupid thing. Not even the wrist that was bothering me before. It's the other one. I just can't settle it on my stupid mouse pad. My stupid desk is stupid terrible. You can tell I'm in a good mood. Having a really swell day after yesterday, which was like awesome. Had a really great time yesterday. There's just like a lot of 1s. Here's a question. The maximum number of 1s I could fit above the line here is 3. Oh, wait a minute. No, it's 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. If I needed 6 groups of 1, then this would actually be enough information to fill the whole thing. Because, like, this is how I'd get 3, and then I'd just fill in both of the other ones at the bottom, and it would do a ton of heavy lifting. But because it's 5, unless I'm, like, having a dissociative moment, which I don't think I am, then I don't have sufficient information to do anything with this. Which is sad. These groups are just too small. Let's try something here. Relative to some of the other stuff that's left, this is like kind of a lot of spaces to account for. We need 5 out of 8, so like we could do 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, or we could do like 1, 2, space 1, space 1, 2. So my theory is that this one is filled in, and this one is filled in. What I want to do now, see, is there some... I think that's right. I think that is correct. I don't think that there is any way to arrange this that those two squares aren't filled. Could be like that. Yeah, I think that just has to be true. I cannot immediately think of anything that disproves that. If that is true, there's only groups of 1 in this column. I think what I'm gonna do is like feel pretty strongly about these ones at this point. So I'm gonna leave the less certain ones purple so I know that they're possible trouble spots. But if this is in fact filled in as overlap for the groups in this row, then that means that these two things have to be together to form the group of 5. So that has to be blank, and then both of those have to be blank. And then everything above this point also has to be blank, which would also mean that in terms of this top row, none of these could house the one group of 4 that I need. So then these would necessarily be filled. And they would be the top group of 1 for their respective columns. This would have to... I can't fit a group of 1 right of this, so that means this has to be the rightmost group of 1. Okay. Still got nothing here. Basically the same thing here and here. So hang on, I need just a group of 2 and a group of 1. And I already have 1 space for what has to be the group of 2. Right, I looked at this before and I wanted to do the same thing I want to do now, and that wasn't accurate either. The 1 can just be in literally any space, any blank space from here to the right. Thanks, Demolition. God, it's already getting late. I'm not going through these very quickly. They're hard, and also I'm just not doing super well at them. Thanks for stopping by, Demolition. Sorry that dinner was kind of a bummer, but hopefully the weekend will get better from here. Appreciate you coming by. Man, it's tough. It's a tough one, man. One, 2. Yeah, I mean, just all these groups of 1 are just tough. I ruled out anything in the 3-1-4-1 to make that work. I think I did, actually. Take another look at this one. So it could be like 1, 2, 3, space 1. Or it could be like 1, space 1, 2, 3. So now I think I get overlap that looks like that. Yeah, I think that's true. And honestly, if anything here is filled in, that means like this can't be part of that continuous group of 6, which then also tells us that like this can't be part of the top group of 4 I still need to fill in over here. So with those squares blocked off, we now know that, like, 3 of these 5 squares have to be part of the top group of 4. And 2 of these 4 have to be part of the group of 3. And if you think really hard about that, your brain explodes, which is, like, not ideal. I understand this. But that looks good, because that's, like, the rightmost group of 2 there. That's the group of 1, group of 1, group of 2. All of that looks right. That does mean the only thing I'm missing is the exact location of the group of 2 for this row, so I can also block all of that off. Can't do anything there. There. 3, 2, 1. 2, 1. Yeah, okay, can't do that yet. That's fine. Oh, with all these things blocked off, this also is the exact location of our group of 2. I'll plug that in, even though I know one of those was one of my sketchy spots, but I think that's true. I think that whole thing is accurate. We can also go back to this 6, and then... like, the only way that the group of 6 could fit here, going to the right, it would still cover these. Or it could go to the left. So, like, this is blank. Then, like, that should be overlap of all possibilities for the 6. Does that tell us anything? The only things remaining for this column are 1s, so that's by itself. That would be by itself. Not apply here. This is still reasonably open-ended. Okay. If we look at this row, now that we put some X's in here, there would be no way to put, like, the group of 4 that I need here and still be able to do anything, fill out the rest of the row. So, like, group of 4 I'm missing has to go exactly here, which, like, ought to tell us some stuff. Like, that finishes this. And that's, what, 3 of 5? Bad column. This being true now tells us the exact location of our group of 6, which is neat. I think it's neat. Okay, now I have filled in a space in this column that is above this one, which means that this cannot be our group of 2 and thus has to be its own separate group by itself. This terrible column has only groups of 1 in it, so that's all by its lonesome. This can't fit a group of 2 anymore, so this has to be blank, which is a little helpful. Oh, yeah, now with, like, this X put in place, I still don't know the exact location of the rightmost group of 2 here, but that, like, I need 2 more groups of 2, and one of them has to go there. Which tells me that these have to be part of the topmost group of 3 for both of these columns, and that they would not be able to reach up to here, so these both have to be blank. Oh, interesting. So, we look at this column now. The bottom group that I'm missing is 2, which can't fit in this single space. So that has to be blank, which then means that this has to be the exact location of the remainder of that group of 2, and leaves only 1 space for the last missing one, which then also definitely means these bottom 3 are part of the group of 3 for the rightmost column, which also helps me locate the exact position of these 2 groups of 2. I don't think that does anything here just yet. And 1, 2, yeah, that's all still open. It's still open, it's still open. That's nothing. Oh, is this... This being filled in means that this is done, which I probably could have done like a minute ago. Let's mark those as well, I think. I feel pretty good about most of where we're at now. Leave that for a second. I'm missing a group of 2 in this row, so the ones that can't house that can't be part of anything. Which similarly means that now that I've got only 1 space here, it can't be part of the top group of 2, which means that goes there and finishes that column. Oh, this has to be blank because I finished this row, which means this is the last one I need for the row and the column. Finishes that with a blank spot. Alright, now I'm still missing 2 groups of 1 here, and there's only 3 spaces. So, like, one of these has to be filled and the other has to be empty, but then, like, this one definitely has to be filled, which makes it part of my missing group of 2. Which also sets an endpoint for this group of 3, which has to go here, which in turn finishes the group of 2 for the row like that, and then makes that the group of 3 there. Blank those. This can't be part of my missing group of 2, so that is the only place it can go, which apparently finishes both of those columns, which looks right. Those in. So apparently where like a group of 2 is supposed to go, finishes that column, that looks good. Oh. Alright, missing something here. Okay, hold on. I'm missing 2 groups of 1 still, so like both of these are filled in. Means like those groups finish like that. What does that leave me with? I mean, 1 and 2. I think there's still multiple ways that can go. Alright, I need 3 more 1s for this column. And I have 3 more groups of spaces they can go. Which means that each one of them has to contain 1 filled-in space. Because I can't put the 2 filled-in spaces next to each other in these smaller groups. Which means this one that has nowhere to hide, that one has to be filled in. Which should probably be enough information to finish the rest of the puzzle. Probably. It's spoiled bread. No, it's the whole safe. It kind of looked like the whole bread went like black moldy bread, which isn't my favorite. I wouldn't like choose to buy it if other bread existed or if no other bread existed. Safe. Still didn't hit S rank. Okay. Raz was correct. There's a safe behind the fake wall. It's got an electronic lock. Do you want to make Vasco really upset towards the end of the stream? I could try. Random. Look like that. Look like that. This. 1, 5, 3 and 1. This is 1 and 3. This is 2 and 1. Makes that 3. I think that finishes that. 2 and 2. 5. This is 2 and 1. There's only 1 in that one, so that has to go there. Which makes that 5, 2, 2, 3. Oh my god, I hate it so much. Like, it just wants you to, like, it even gives you the same puzzle, so, like, you can sort of grind it, but, like, what is the fun in doing it this way? I just, like, legitimately don't understand. This one. It's not always exactly the same puzzles, but I think they draw from like a small enough pool that if you had to do it several times in a row, it would be exactly the same thing. This one. Didn't even seem like I got close last time, which seems weird to me. 1 and 3, huh? Is that what I was expecting that to look like? 2 and 2. 1, 1, 1. 2, 2. That has to be... It's just the worst. Like, it just adds nothing. Like, I know I'm, like, predisposed to, like, dislike time sections, but, like, legitimately explain to me, like, what the benefit of it is. I just do not understand. It's just, like, instead of doing a fun puzzle, they just design, like, a bad puzzle. Okay. This is... Oh my god. I can't process this. I'm, like, too mad now. This has to be like this. Like this. And then what do I need? This? I'm like never gonna finish this. I'm just like too mad now. I'm just like flustered. Like I honestly felt like I was doing a really good job and like wasn't getting close multiple times in a row. Like this one is like I guess meant to be like super difficult, but like it can blow right off as far as I'm concerned. It's a big stinkerooski. I just don't care. Like, I'm not even a little close. I'm not even, like, a little close. But, like, you don't, like, get better at it. You just memorize, to some extent, like, the ones that already, like, made you do. Like, I just literally don't understand what's fun about that. Like, okay, just, like, I'm just gonna randomly click stuff. Could you just restart? Because, like, if I lose any amount of time, then I might as well, like, cancel? Because, like, the time limit is so narrow that if you get, like, even one wrong, you will basically definitely lose. Unless you actually are a computer. So, like, could you at least give me, like, a retry option? Like, just from a practical standpoint. Like, if getting one thing wrong one time basically forces you to lose, could you, like, set it up correctly? This one. It's 4, but like I don't care at all. 2. What am I still missing? This. I just... Oh my god, I just can't even... Oh, what am I missing? Such garbage. It's just like, I don't care. Like, let me Kratos skip this. Like, hey, you're too stupid to do hacking puzzles. Like, fine. I don't want to be good at hacking puzzles. They're not good or fun or interesting. Just, like, tell me I suck, and let me, like, move on with my life. I don't care. That's an acceptable outcome, because the other outcome is, like, having to actually do this. Which is objectively worse. This has to be 2. This has to be here. What? What do you want? It just, in order to do it quickly, you have to, like, be looking at, like, every axis possible at all times. Which means, like, you can't actually focus on any particular thing, which means, like... Like, you can't do anything carefully. You just can't do it. Like, you can't do it because it's bad and it's dumb. And I just want to swear so bad because it's just, like, the most frustrating, like... This is like the worst thing I could do with my day right now. I hate this so much. 2... Like, this is like... the most triggering thing I can think to do with my time right now. And I'm already, like, on the brink, man. I'm, like, just having an absolute garbage dump time. This sucks so much. Like, it's not even about, like, solving it at a certain point. It's, like, literally... Like, I can't even, like, move fast enough to, like, doing it, like, perfectly correctly. Like, as bad as it is with the time limit on that was so strict that, like, even when, like, I could correctly do the puzzle in an extremely limited amount of time, I still could not get credit for it because I can't, like, move that quickly and still get it right, and also not accidentally misclick a little bit and lose 5 seconds off the already strict time limit. Like, that's just, like, that really sucked. Like, there's just no two ways around that. I just think that's bad. Like, some of the earlier ones are just like, I don't have fun doing them. I personally think that's bad. When the margin of error is that razor thin, that, like, you literally have to have almost, like, machine-like precision in how quickly you move, that, like, it doesn't matter how quickly you think you need to be plugged into the computer to, like, do it correctly. Like, that's just garbage. Like, who is that for? I'm just gonna ignore this funny joke because I'm extremely way too mad. Like, I'm not at all close to enjoying this right now. That's what I get for restricting you to PBS. I mean, I guess that's a good thing to do. I guess you're treating him like a child. You don't know that he's a murder weapon, because he didn't tell you that. But, like, I don't know. He's already seen some things. Well, I don't see a return plane ticket in the save. It's just filled with bags of coins like she's the protagonist in a Mario game. Change for the register, maybe. Wait, there's a bunch of legal documents at the back. Give me a moment, I'll scan the text. How is that not a puzzle? How is that not... a man handed us a business card that wasn't at all related to this case. It literally wasn't. It was like a guy who, like, had some, like, a plot thread to further develop Scout's character, presumably in the last case. A man walked up to us, has nothing to do with this case. He hands us a business card. When we look at the business card, we have to complete a nonogram to explain what a business card is. Here is, like, an actual clue in the back of a hidden safe of the probable perpetrator of this case. And that one isn't a puzzle? I literally don't understand the reasoning. I'm not saying I'm, like, particularly excited about doing a legal document puzzle right now, but, like, I just don't get it. What do you think clues are, game? It appears to be an insurance policy for Magellans covering fire, theft, accidental damage, earth Q? Wait, accidental damage? Does that include... I know I'm not being fair because I'm just, like, really salty right now. Like, it's been, like, a long day and a long week, and I kind of started this stream in the position of, like, being fed up with Honor's garbage. But, like... Are you serious? Like, this had occurred to me, like, no more than 30 minutes into my first installment of stream for just specifically this case. Now, granted, part of that has to do with how unbelievably obviously suspicious Fran's dialogue is early in the case, but you know what? That's still fair game because Honor, as a character who lives in this world, would have heard that dialogue too. And, like, could have used, like, a basic read the room skill check to ascertain the fact that, like, Fran was not on the level because she kept saying really suspicious stuff apropos of nothing. The fact that it's taken this long And this many failed attempts to understand basic stuff for her to be like, wait a minute. Maybe she could have gotten insurance money for being responsible for the crime. The thing that she would obviously do to get above water. Just absolutely stunning. And they want me to think that she's, like, the chosen one. She's the detective who will, like, help the LAPD? Like, come on. Come on, man. I'm just not here for this right now. You're making it worse, game. Not specifically, but I believe the wording means that it would be covered. The payout for such an event could reach into hundreds of thousands of dollars! Interesting. Let me see something. Oh my god, 3. Okay. Let's do some dialogue. I don't think we're gonna start another puzzle, so I think the answer is 3. Did you hear about Fran's holiday plans? Her holiday friends, if you will? Also, didn't we tell him about that? So, like, he definitely knows? It's like we already showed him. Never mind. Did you know Fran's going away tomorrow? She mentioned it earlier today. Said I'd help sort things out while she was away. Gonna spend some time with her drag mother, the utterly legendary Queen of New York, Ms. Krista Levelier? I don't know. I don't know what that... I'm sure that's a clever drag joke, but, like, it's over my head, and it's late, and I'm mad. Ugh. The stories she is... I'm quite jealous, really. Tell me about that. Tell me more about Fran's drag family. Fran is a member of the House of Levelier. Even if she doesn't use the surname. Interesting fact, that's where I got the name LeBeau from. Fran wasn't my only drag mum. There was another, the iridescent Beau Derrick. They were the matriarchs of our little house. So when it came to picking a stage name, I merged Levelier and Beau into LeBeau. All this time I thought you picked it because it sounds extremely camp. Well, that's definitely part of it too. And you thought the only layers I had were in the air. I mean, do I just... Here's the save. Casey, take a look at document. It says Fran's insurance is good for shoe accident. Do I have to? They look so boring. Surely Fran would need these if she was actually on the phone to the insurance company. Really, Honor? She probably has duplicates. Or another document with her information on it. According to Scout, it's a policy that'll pay out for accidental damage. That float crashing into the club means Frank could make a claim for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Insurance specialist, is he now? Blimey, his creator must be a hoot at parties. I'm sorry, I just have to stick up for me friend. Come on, Casey, you've got to admit there's a bunch of inconsistencies here. A few questionable things, yes, but nothing exactly conclusive. Sure, there's explanations for everything. Well, let's go talk to Fran, then. If I'm wrong, she could steer me right. Fine. I'm sure you won't mind if I tag along. I guess I'm done doing whatever it was that had me off screen for so long so that you could do puzzles. As long as you're fine with it, Honor. Might be embarrassing to have Detective Cross see how wrong you've got it. That's a risk I'm willing to take. Somehow we're able to get in now. Fran? Fran, are you there? Open up, it's me. Wait, I have an idea. Oh my god, Fran! You're never going to believe who just walked in. It's only bloody Luke Perry. You know, the one you like from 90210. Because it's the 90s, you understand. Oh, could have sworn that'd work. Well, this is great. I don't suppose anyone's got a lockpick. Another item to add to my version 2.0 improvements list. You know, for the sequel. What are y'all standing out there? It's Fran. She's in here, but she's not answering. Starting to get a little worried. Did you try the Luke Perry thing? Yeah, it didn't work. That ain't right. Stand back. Yeah. It's a classic Miss Piggy moment right there. What the? Good kick will get you anywhere in life. That's my motto. Will you please stop destroying our furniture, Roz? You're breaking things faster than I can replace them. What are you all doing? That's what we'd like to ask you. I hear you're going on a little trip. Yeah, I'm going to New York for a few days. It's been planned for a while. Except, here's the problem with that. Or there's a problem with that, isn't there? I mean, arguably, both the top and the bottom are valid. Even the middle one, frankly, is fine. It's like all of them apply. I mean, we know she's not... I mean, we have strong reason to imply that she's not coming back, but I guess, strictly speaking, she could plan on getting a ticket later. It just doesn't make any sense. So I guess... It's Pride Soon might be the best of those options, but the most incriminating, since I think we're on that path, is to say she's not planning on coming back. I mean, at the very least, I feel like in a case like this, you'd be better off making the accusation and having her fix it. We found your ticket, but there's no return portion, which is a weird way of saying that. You aren't planning on coming back. Of course I'm coming back, but I only had the money to pay for the outbound fare. Krista told me she'd pay for the return. See? Told you there'd be a simple explanation. I believe you, Fran. That was the plan. Till the early hours of this morning, at least. What do you mean? You went to Crispin's apartment last night. You went to ask him for an extension. A few extra days so you could go to New York City and borrow some money from Krista. Except, he wouldn't agree to it, would he? We overheard you talking earlier. Crispin mentioned that you'd spoken last night and that nothing had changed. Realizing you had no hope of paying him back today, and afraid of what he might do in retaliation, you spotted an opportunity. An outlandish one, but you were desperate. You killed Oliver Laurel for his money because I'm paying as much attention as Honor is. You stole the parade float and crashed it into the club. The float was being kept in the parking lot next to Crispin's apartment, which is super normal and not extremely convenient or anything. It caught your eye because you were desperate. Oh, please. How is crashing a giant shoe into my club going to help me pay Crispin? That's what I said. Well, it's what I thought, at least. We found your insurance documents. The club is comprehensively covered against this kind of damage. Well, of course it is. I'm required to have that insurance by law. And that's why you thought you could get away with it. The insurance payout for this accident would be huge. Enough to cover your debt to Crispin and then some. It's a good story, but there's no proof I was even at Crispin's apartment. I had no idea the float was in that parking lot. That's where you're wrong. There's proof you were there. And a sneaker on the fence. I mean, I guess... Like, I'm still not totally sure what the deal with the shoebox is, but, like, don't we know that from the security logs at the building, she, like, went to talk to Crispin? I mean, like, we don't even know for sure that, like, Fran wore the sneakers. We just know that she had a box and sneakers were found there. Like, I don't know, I think Scout said something to the effect that, like, he did a scan and they're the same shoes, I promise. But, like, I mean, in theory, Crispin could testify to this. I don't think he would, necessarily. Also, like, he's going to prison, so, like, that's not, like, a great look. But, like, wasn't the whole point of, like, the conversation outside the apartment building that, like, we found security logs? Well, no, maybe those didn't specify who the person was? Is that someone? I can't remember. It was too long ago. I feel like the fact that there's two Crispin answers means that they're both wrong. So I guess I gotta say the sneaker thing, even though I feel like that's dumb evidence that isn't not dumb. We found a sneaker stuck on the fence, which you obviously lost when you climbed into the parking lot. The same make and size as the sneaker found near the crash parade float. And the same make and size as the pair of sneakers you just had Rush delivered to the club via a motorcycle courier. It makes sense. It's hard to make a getaway in heels, isn't it? Well, see, Fred? Hang on, you said I climbed the fence? How could I when I fractured my arm? Ah, good question. I'd forgotten about your arm, Fran, but I think we can lay this to rest. Scout, could you perform a scan on Fran's arm? Nah, I'm pretty sure he can't do that. Or if he can, that's like a violation of some kind of health code. Or at the very least that we should all be wearing leather aprons or something. Specifically the area under a cast? Of course, sure, why not? That might as well happen. Wait, What? If you're innocent, he'll find nothing out of the ordinary. Fine, I guess it's okay for this insane futuristic VCR technology to irradiate me and possibly sterilize me. Oh, okay, I guess we're doing this now. Oh, wait a minute. Aha, I remembered this. This one? This is probably the last puzzle in the case. We've done several at A rank, and we're clearly quite close to pinning this on Fran. Considering my mental state, I don't think I would like to start this puzzle tonight. And thankfully, the game allows you to solve during puzzles, but not during novel segments, which to me feels a little backwards, but sure, I guess. We'll do the safety save because I trust nothing right now. Neat. Alright. Let us return to title. Let us exit game. It's me, Big Vasco. Nobody has said anything for almost an hour, so I don't think anyone's gonna mind. We also managed to make it to 9:12. And we completed 3 puzzles. We got shoebox, plane ticket, and safe. I believe that was all of them. I could open it back up, but I'm pretty sure I checked like a half hour ago, and it was 3 then, and I hadn't solved any between then. Prediction outcome 3. Oh, we do have winner. That's exciting. And you should get a pretty good payout. Choose outcome 3 puzzle. Complete prediction. Prediction result is 3! A bizarre way of stating that. Thank you, Twitch Managed Prediction. 1.5 thousand points go to Sarah. Congratulations. Have one have one of these. I haven't used this in a while. Awesome. Very exciting. Well, that could have gone better in multiple ways, but at least someone won the prediction, and that makes me feel better about that to some extent. Perhaps it was always meant to be 3 puzzles, and then some hacking, and then me just being simmeringly upset. Regardless, we're getting close to finishing this game. I just don't know what to do about it. I mean, we got like a lot of this game left. I feel like in order to finish this game, we probably still have to play for like another like 2 to 4 months or something, which is just like a lot. It's not that I'd like. I mean, listen, I've hated the hacking stuff from the beginning. It taps into something I just absolutely hate in video games. So, like, it shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone at this point that, like, that is specifically a thing I don't like. But like the rest of the game is fine, other than some like narrative gripes I have about how absolutely stupid our character seems, and yet the game wants us to think that she's like a capable detective, which like there's some cognitive dissonance there that I'm struggling with the longer it goes on. Um but like I don't know. Like I know that it's inherently kind of a weird game to watch because it's so like prolonged logic puzzle-y. I don't know if people want to finish it. Maybe we'll have to figure that out. I mean, my assumption for now is yes, but it's just like it's just a lot. Like I really didn't think it's starting to feel a lot like Wintermore Tactics Club, just in the sense that like I thought it was like, oh, like what a fun like little game, and then it just like keeps going. Like I think we got to part like 20 something of Wintermore Tactics Club, and I definitely soured on that game towards the end, partially just because I felt like it overstayed its welcome, and not just because like in terms of like raw length, but also just because like I didn't feel like after a certain point it was contributing anything that warranted further runtime. Like they just kept like padding the game by like adding characters and making you go through new tutorials to get new characters. And while I don't think that this game is like as egregious as that in terms of feeling long, and you know, to be honest, like I'm factoring in that estimate, like time to try and finish all the optional memory puzzles and get the extra cutscenes for Scout, which are all like extremely short and not terribly informative. But like, you know, at least they are optional. And, you know, frankly, a lot of stuff in Wintermore Tactics Club was optional too, but it was like optional in the sense that like I guess you could ignore this entire character or like get their good ability by doing several side quests. Which is like faux optional. It feels like if you want to like try all the characters even. Like not even necessarily like play them a ton, but just like give them a genuine try. Like you still are kind of obliged to do that. I don't know how I got in this rant, but like it's like a lot. Um I guess I would say that like I will be happy to see this case end. Mostly just because it's been like really meandering and long, and like a lot of it wasn't detective work. We've really only done proper detective work in the last like 1.5 streams, but we've been doing this case for like 6 weeks or something. So like that's weird. I mean, it doesn't help that we split it across the holidays, and the same was true for Wintermore Tactics Club, but like that's only like in terms of how long it feels. Like like I don't off the top of my head know the number of installments that Wintermore Tactics Club went, but my guess is something like 23, somewhere in that neighborhood. And I think a reasonable number of those streams went on the long end, but like even if you factored them at an average of 3 hours each, that's like 60 some hours. Like that's a lot. And this game's already up to 17, so you know that's a lot of hours. Um, I don't know. I don't know that. I mean, I do feel like Wintermore Tactics Club would have benefited from scaling down a bit, only because I don't think its mechanics were deep enough to like run for a super long time. I don't necessarily know that this game would benefit from being shorter, but I do think that like the mystery writing being improved would definitely improve my perception of the experience. And it doesn't have to be like, you know, like actual Sherlock Holmes or whatever. Just like I would love it if the lead detective didn't choose like the least likely suspect at every turn and then be shocked that they're wrong all the time. Like that just like that feels really like Dora the Explorer to me, where it's like it's just like pandering to like the lowest common denominator to like make it seem more impressive that you finish the game. Like I feel like in order to just do the nonogram puzzles, you kind of have to be a smart enough person to like rule out some of these suspects just by like circumstantial evidence. But whatever. I won't rant forever. Let me check something real quick. So today's the 27th. Oh my god, calendar. Could you not be the worst? So today's the 27th. Next week will be February 3rd. But the first full week of February doesn't start until the 6th. So, no. In theory, we could play this next week. I might want to start Strong Week festivities next Friday. I think I'm going to have to put a poll in the Discord about that. I'm not sure what the actual overall interest level in that is. It's difficult to gauge after many years of playing Resonance of Fate, and like a majority of people from who watch the Renegade Constabulary YouTube channel not following current day Vasco streams. So I'll have to look into some details. But we may be back with this next week, where we may be playing Resonance of Fate, to be determined. Tomorrow we will be playing Stray. I think we will finish Stray, now that we don't have the weapon section in the sewer that I didn't like. I think the rest of the game will likely be straightforward enough that we can finish it. It might be a slightly longer stream, or maybe it'll be canceled because I'll have a mental breakdown. It's unclear. But for now, there's one unfinished order of business before we round out the stream, and that is to locate the secret Squirtle, because somewhere on the couch behind me is hidden a secret Squirtle. And if you can find it, of course, it will be an omen of good luck for you in the week to come. And from the sounds of it, we could all use it. I know I could. And yeah, I set the couch up in this particular fashion because I realized that this was probably the best way to compare the size of Naomi and Narissa. Someone had asked me to do it at the end of last Saturday's stream when Narissa first debuted, and I wasn't smart enough to instantaneously think of just setting them like this on the couch back there to give some frame of reference for, like, big, but, like, big. Also, like wide, but, like, wide. Let's go take a look so that I can stop recording and start editing. Yay! Man, you know I'm in a bad mood when I'm cynical. It's good. It's great. Everyone's having a good time. I promise. I'm telling you that. You can't deny it because I told you that. Alright, so. Let's get behind Carlos and behind Celestina, also known as Tina, the Donut Dragon. Why don't we take a look simultaneously? Because there's two secret Squirtles. There's Squirtles everywhere. There are, in fact, Squirtles everywhere. Mostly everything has a Squirtle behind it. There's a Squirtle behind this guy. There's a Squirtle inside this guy. There's a Squirtle under this Winnie the Pooh and behind Narissa. There's also a Squirtle over here. So you almost couldn't guess wrong. There's Squirtles everywhere. You want to see them? You can see them. See, we got, like, this little guy behind the little one. We got Winter Squirtle behind Narissa. This one might not work. Oh, no, that's fine. A big Squirtle over there. And we got Squirtle inside the octopus. It's great. You love it. Again, if I tell you that, you can't dispute it because I'm the one streaming, so you can't deny it. It's just not possible. Cool. Well, I hope you enjoyed this installment of Murder by Numbers. Listen, I'm having a bad day, so I'm sounding a little negative, and I'm maybe being a little hard on the game. I do have some problems with it. They're mostly not major problems. I do really hate the hacking thing. I feel like this hacking puzzle in particular was extremely bad because the time limit on it was, like, very strict, making a thing that's already unpleasant, like, really unpleasant. Yeah. Like, I'm not gonna be, like, mad to keep playing it. I'm just frustrated and a little disappointed, and also having a pretty bad day. But I do think I genuinely want to address the question of whether people are interested enough to see through the final case, just because I'm getting the impression that, like, it will take a while still. Like, I think in order to finish this game, we might still be streaming it in, like, late summer, which is, like, a lot. Like, that just seems like a lot to dedicate to the game if people aren't interested in it. And it's a little hard to gauge because, again, it's just kind of like a weird game to watch. So we'll finish this case, we'll get a sense of that, and then we will plan for the future. But for now, thanks to everybody for watching. Thank you for being here. Thanks for being you. And I hope to see you again soon. If I see you tomorrow, then we'll be playing Stray modded so that the cat doesn't say cat noises. It says Jason, like Ethan Mars in Heavy Rain, which is really the only way to play that game. I don't even understand why it defaults to cat noises. It's very confusing to me. And then, like I said, we gotta figure out exactly what I want to do for Strong Week this year. Last week was a little tough on me emotionally, but that's because I was having a bad time, and guess what? I am now too. In the meantime, I hope that you have all the luck, courtesy of Squirtle, and hopefully from the universe at large. But I will leave you to it. Goodbye, everybody.